Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tombs of Scoria. How are you doing today, Nick?
Doing all right. Excited to finally get this going. People have been asking me about it for so long, so it's always just been about finding the time in game to do it. But now we've got some time. Tomorrow's going to be really exciting, so I'm happy to fit it in now. Maybe make some discoveries that might help us along the way.
Yeah. So, you know what you want to do. Well, actually, let's provide some context. The other characters have had a solo session thus far. I think all of them have. And this is time for Imrich's, a little glimpse at what he does during his downtime when we say, like, there's a week in town. We don't really know what's going down. So here's a glimpse at a week in town when no one else is around and what Imrich is going to get up to. And you already have an idea of what it is that you want to do, don't you?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff. We've got maybe a bit more than a week. Have we not got like a few weeks?
I think we have
in between.
Yeah, I was speaking broadly and figuratively, but I think there's actually,
of course,
2 weeks.
Well, I've been meaning to go for ages. It's a point of pride for all up-and-coming wizards within Arcadia. You grow up, you're there, you're studying, you read magic spell. You look up into the sky and you see a large airship hovering overhead and think, wow, that could only be magic. And then your master wizard guy was like, yes, young Imrich. That's the wizard airship. It flies all over Arcadia and only the most powerful of wizards can ever visit it, you see. And you go, wow, that's so cool. I wonder what's up there. So obviously Imrich's been getting steadily more powerful in a pretty short period of time here. And he is now more than capable of getting to the airship. In fact, could have got there a while ago, but just haven't found the time. He's a busy man. So we've got 3 or 4 weeks. The other 2 are busy doing other things. Now might be a good time to visit the airship. And whilst we're up there, hoping maybe we can do a little bit of research on Glacier. Maybe, I don't know if they'll have anything there, but maybe they'll have something. Might be able to find someone who will trade me something for the robe of scintillating colors, which I can't use. And then I had a thought about, since I'm going to be wearing armor, maybe looking to get some scrolls and potions made for some of my low-level spell effects that you don't always want to take in your spell list, but nice to have. So, for example, things like fly would be a cool one to have in a potion. Not mirror image, because obviously I cast that every day anyway. Forget could be pretty cool. Locate landmark. Knock. Reveal doors. Spider climb. Charm person. Whole portal. Like any of these would be good to have in scroll form. There's some 3rd level spells as well. So I was thinking, what I might do is when I get up there, see if I can't find out the components I need to make scrolls and potions. And then, given the power of teleport and the fact that I'm a badass, I can probably go and collect a bunch of these things myself if I need to. Like if I have to kill a certain monster, I could probably just go and find one and kill it. We'll see about that. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. We might check in with Shelley. All sorts of things, Got stuff to do.
It's been a long time since we've heard from Shelley Tolwick.
I think, in my head canon, Imrich's been writing letters to her as we've gone. Maybe I've not been mentioning it, but, I think we've kept in touch since that fateful evening at the Lord of Cronwick's palace. Our eyes locked across the dinner table. She fell asleep. I pretended to fall asleep while my brothers ransacked and robbed the place. It was a romantic moment.
Well, shall we start with the airship and add Shelley Tolwick at the end if we have space, or do you want to start with Shelley?
No. Let's do the airship first. So my question is, how am I going to get there? I think I've probably heard of other people teleporting to it. Now, I don't know how that works because it's moving. And we've struggled to teleport onto a ship before, so I'm not sure how that works. But I bet that Arxombar has been there.
Yeah, finding it is going to be one of the problems because it's always on the move. It might stay in one place for a short period of time, but it's a mobile station.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So I think I'm going to go talk to Arxombar about it. I don't know if it's possible. I've always heard, you've got to make it there yourself the first time. That's the whole point. Time is short. Maybe Arxombar can teleport me there. Maybe. But I'm going to go and ask her. If not, we'll try and scry on it and find our way there ourselves.
All right. It's not a difficult thing for you to get a moment of Arc Somber's time. You can get to her.
I think I'm studying spells there anyway, right? So
yeah. So you can meet up with her and sit down for a nice chat.
Yeah, so I think I'm probably already there. I'm probably studying one of the spells that I just learned in the last episode. So, what did I actually get? Advanced Illusion, maybe, or something like that. Low resistance. Mm-hmm. I'm working on my spells, and, I close the book, and I say this, what's her first name, by the way? I feel like I wouldn't call her Arxombar all the time. I mean, she calls me by my first name.
It's a good point. Her name is... I was just looking at her sheet yesterday.
Unless she's not a noble and she's just called Sombar and that's her first name.
Jessica Sonbar.
Okay, so close the book. Jess, I've been thinking with Anton and Tyrrell away for a little while. Been meaning to go up there. The airship. Have you been there before?
Of course I have. Haven't you? Have you not been?
I just haven't found the time. Ever since I learned the fly spell, or the polymorph spell, I've just not found the time to go.
I suppose that makes sense. Sometimes I forget you weren't always who you are today. It's been a long journey. Well, not... It's been a long journey in a short period of time.
Exactly, yeah. I've advanced quite a way. Not quite up to your level yet, but getting there. I think I'd heard you mention in passing that you teleported up there. But how can that be possible if it's moving?
She gives you the look of one wizard asking for another wizard's secrets. They say the first time you arrive, you have to get there on your own. I wouldn't want to spill any of the journey to you. It's a fascinating place. And if you go, let me be sure to remind you that it's an incredibly dangerous place, too.
Dangerous how?
The wraiths that guard it. Are you not familiar with the three of them?
I heard something that the three wizards that made it are now dead and guard it. Is that what you mean? Are they wraiths?
Wraith is sometimes a word meaning a specific type of undead creature, and sometimes it's a term meaning a broad form. In this case, I'm speaking of a broad form. There are three who guard it. A necromancer, a transmuter, and an abjurer, as far as I know. All three together made this, and in the process, they gave themselves up to be the managers of it. If you are there, it is neutral ground for all things. Even if you meet your mortal enemy, you should not act out. The wraiths will... She pauses and contemplates. The wraiths have no concern for worldly affairs. They care only for the airship, for it is a place of mutual study, for the furtherment of all magic across the land, of all people. No business is to be conducted there. No negotiations, no trade, no...
No trade? Really?
She gives you like a, certainly you can borrow someone's pen, and small things being traded back and forth is fine, but it's not a place to conduct outside affairs. It's not like a safe ground that you could come and organize a trade union between two different peoples.
It's a shame. I was hoping to make a trade for those robes that we found in Solemn. You've seen them, right?
The ones in many colors?
Yes. Yeah. A buyer for these is hard to come by. I was hoping that this place may provide access to some wizards with means to trade. Is there a way I could go about it? Perhaps mention it in passing and arrange a meeting outside of the airship.
Something like that, I'm sure, would work. Or even if you bring them on you in a quick, gentle, oh, you want these? I want that. We'll trade. Something of that kind, I think, might not disturb the Wraiths. They don't particularly explain their rules in detail. Just those who cross the bounds find themselves dead.
And is all magic forbidden up there, or only aggressive magic?
Only magic that would interfere with the core principle of the place. Some spells are in effect at all times. Everyone who stands on the airship is imbued with read magic, comprehend languages, and true seeing spells for their duration of their stay. The ship moves with control weather and detect scrying type effects. There's an alarm spell that goes off when anything gets too close to the airship. 1 bell at 1,000 feet, 2 bells at 500 feet, 3 bells at 100 feet. The whole place is blanketed in continual light, except for the sleeping quarters and the Griffin Aviary.
Griffin Aviary? Why are there griffins up there?
Some people choose that as a method of transport, and there's an aviary for griffins to stay, should they need a place to rest. I've also been from time to time griffins who have taken up residence independently there and acted as guardians. I say independently. I haven't seen owners watching over them, but I have seen them guard the ship. When you have communal spaces as this, sometimes aspects of them come and go and wax and wane. There are roosts for griffins. There may be a whole flock living there when you arrive, or there may be absolutely none. She gives
interesting.
a shrug.
I didn't realize that griffin mounts were so popular. I've not seen any in Drekus.
They more of a relic of ages past. I think the old Eridonians used to use griffins, and some of the Akubans have used griffins in the past as well. But they're difficult to train. Very mean-spirited creatures. I think once your good griffin handler passes away, your family ceases to be able to raise them. It's a special skill to manage such aggressive, dangerous beasts.
Oh, don't mind saying, I wouldn't mind one for myself. Perhaps the stars will align. Well, thanks for the information. I guess the first question is, where is this thing? And I suppose I do have one trick. I pull out my crystal ball, and I'll place it on top of the closed spell book that I was looking up. Say, all right, well, I wonder if this will work. I suppose you'd have a better chance at it than myself, having been there yourself, but I'll do what I can.
She walks to a window and closes the shutters to darken the room slightly to give you a better view of the orb, and takes a seat on the edge of a table nearby to watch.
Okay, I will. I mean, I don't know, what would you say? I'm well informed of? Not slightly informed. I'm more than slightly informed.
I would say, in the spirit of you doing things off screen, you would have heard much about it. You would have, in the process of researching spells, come across descriptions of it. Sambar has informed you a little bit of it right now. I would give you well informed. That's a 50% chance, I think.
Yeah, I was just trying to find the table myself, but I'll take your word for it. All right, I'm going to go low. I try and summon an image, and it's just the clouds of the crystal ball.
Mm-hmm.
Blast! I don't know. Something's failing. This crystal ball thing, it served me well over the last months, but it can be finicky. It's hard to conjure an image, something you don't, if you haven't seen it with your own eyes. Well, I suppose I can just try again on the morrow. I don't suppose you would wish to command the ball for me to give me a shite, but that counts cheating. I'll find it eventually, Jessica.
Considers... Oh, I think that is cheating. I wish I could help you, Imric, but there are some things we must do for ourselves. This is a rite of passage. You are perhaps a little older than one would expect for this rite of passage. I could understand how it would feel more of a burden than a a true, meaningful breakthrough as it was for me and will be for my apprentice and for all the others. But tradition is tradition.
I understand some traditions are important, even if they don't make a lot of logical sense. They're important for the cohesion of the group as a whole.
I'm glad you see it that way.
Yeah, of course. I've become a lot wiser over these last couple of years. Not wise enough to wear these robes, though, I think to myself. I think to myself, not out loud, Saladin Keep in Glacier, is that count as slightly informed of? I'll try and scry on that, the idea of Saladin Keep in Glacier.
Sure.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Nope. You just get more clouds and water below.
Yeah, okay. I'll put my crystal ball away and finish my day's study, I suppose. And say, as I'm leaving, right, this is, we finished studying for the day, I'm about to leave. And say, we was planning to be away for a while. I was taking a look at my my stock of components. And whilst I've managed to have almost limitless access to everything I needed, there is one spell that would be of great use to me that I very rarely come across the components I need. It's for the Cat's Grace spell. The Whiskers of an Elven Cat. I have a handful that I took from the muzzle of a elven cat myself. Quite the dangerous thing to try and do. But I was wondering, do you have any contacts in the city or elsewhere where I could find a more regular supply of this? I'd like to begin casting it regularly since it lasts for a long time, but as it is right now, I'm hoarding them because I don't know when they might be needed.
There were rumors of an elven cat lurking around Berkshire in the last couple years, seen from time to time, but wild and on its own. Elven cat's able to shape change slightly at will. It's quite easy to pass for a regular cat or to hide altogether. Might be too difficult to go chasing around looking for one. Consider
even if I could kill it. One, is this morally a good idea to do? And two, it's still limited supply. How many whiskers does one cat hold?
50 or 60?
I suppose that would be a good amount.
Elven cats are few and far between, especially outside their homelands. I think the people you had best be talking to are quite a bit older than I.
The elves, I've asked them in the past. They've given me a handful. This is where I got them in the first place. But I don't think they were particularly happy about it. And I doubt they'd be willing to give me a supply enough to cast the spell regularly. I do have one idea, though, and this is a crazy idea. I wonder what would happen if I were to polymorph myself into an elven cat and let you pluck a few whiskers.
Do you think they would maintain existence even after you shape changed back?
I don't think I'll need the spell today if you'd like to try. Promise just not to pet me too much.
I think that's a temptation I can manage to refuse.
Okay. Before I leave then.
She gives a call for her assistant to join them in the room.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Just in case she gets tempted. I will, I begin saying the arcane words. I believe polymorph self is only verbal, so I will speak the arcane words and cast polymorph and turn into an elven cat.
And soon you indeed are an elven cat, I think. There's no limit, right? You could polymorph yourself into any creature. There's no...
Has to be no larger than a rhino, no smaller than a wren.
No larger than a rhino, no smaller than a wren. Polymorph.
But I'm pretty sure an elven cat isn't bigger than a rhino.
It is definitely not bigger than a rhino. Yeah. Locomotion, breathing, no system shock is required. The spell does not give the new form's other abilities, so you can't do any of the shape changing. No. But you do appear as a house cat of elven make and style.
So I think when I saw the elven cat last time, it was like mountain lion sized. But I always imagine them to be house cat sized, and maybe they shapeshift between the two.
They can change back and forth at will.
Yeah.
Yes. So, expecting to be a giant mountain lion, you are somewhat disappointed, it seems, as you appear as a local house cat.
That's fine.
Yes. Here's the elven cat picture.
Yes, yeah, I've seen it myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same picture in my book. Which is to be expected, I suppose.
I suppose, yeah, it is the same book.
I think yours might be slightly different. Is yours the white one?
It is.
MrMouton had a different one, I think.
There's a black cover and a white cover. One of them is the revised and one of them is the unrevised. This is the unrevised Monstrous Manual. I have no idea if there's any technical differences. I think it might just be like one was printed in 87 and one was printed in 93 sort of thing.
Yeah. They should fix the monster summoning tables. God, it still annoys me how bad that spell is. Such a cool spell as well. It's such a classic wizard thing, and it's just rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so, I steel myself as Oxombar or her apprentice. Guys, to pluck a few whiskers. This is going to be quite painful, actually.
Yeah. A large, massive hand, bigger than your face, reaches down and grabs some of the most sensitive and delicate hairs on your face, the ones that let you locate things around you, know whether you can fit inside of something, that sort of pick up the airwaves. The vibrations of these things give you all sorts of sensory information. So as Somber comes up and grabs 3 of them at once and he rips them out of your face, it's incredibly painful. There's no...
Used a dagger, though.
Just ripped him out by the follicles. Yeah. And then she holds them up in the air and watches as they just fade from existence.
That's a shame. All right, I turn back into myself. As I sort of like morph back into myself, my head shaking, I said, well, I suppose that would have been too good to be true, but thanks for trying it out.
Yeah, the assistant will come towards you with a cloth handkerchief and dab the side of your face, and as she pulls the handkerchief away, you'll see that there's like blood coming off of your cheek.
Is there an open window?
The window has recently been shut, but otherwise it's open.
I will just walk over to the window and open it up and turn to the two of them and say, well, nice speaking to you today. Unless, if things go better with the crystal ball, maybe I'll be otherwise engaged tomorrow. But if not, I'll see you then. Still studying.
Arcsomber will go grab your book and your crystal ball, hand them over to you so you can become a wren and vanish.
Become a bird and fly out of the window, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go back to our home. And someone should... Oh, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Is our mother at home, or is she in where the keep's being built?
Where the keep is being built, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, I guess I go back home, and it's probably like an empty house. I mean, maybe Anton and Tyrael are away doing something. It's just the servants pottering around. Mm-hmm. Don't really... Who was the one servant? Worcester, right?
That is one of your servants. That's your butler, I believe.
Yeah, it's the butler. Well, I thought about having a conversation with him, but it's just not the same, is it? So I'll just... I think I just go and entertain myself. I'll take my food in my room and continue reading my books and muse over what's to come with our journey into the Arctic magical wasteland of Glacier.
Yeah, it is a cold winter's night here in the house. Servants will bring more firewood along. You're just above the freezing point, and what little rain comes down has like that sound of cold rain hitting on your rooftops. You can see steam rising from the streets where buckets or chamber pots have been dumped out, and like the refuse just sort of steams along. Smoke rises from all the chimneys. It's quiet here in the house without your brothers around. You can hear the servants sort of going back and forth down below in their quarters. Firewood is hauled up into your room. You're made nice and toasty, but you are otherwise alone. Even the higher level warriors who are here to guard your house are here to marshal your troops aren't around. They must be out with your brothers performing some labor or doing some sort of training or on an overnight trip.
Yeah.
You've got enough people here to, you know, keep the place secure, but the majority of folks are gone. Is there anything that you would like to do alone at your home, or should we just do a bunch of rolls to see how long it takes you to get to the airship?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think, like, but what I need to do in town. And I don't really think there is that much that I need to do in town or on my own, really. I don't really have any sort of meaningful relationships with any NPCs outside of Oxombar and the Queen and Cartos and that. I guess in the past, on a night like tonight, with no one around and no responsibility to tend to, Himric would probably have gone to a bar, or at least been drinking something. He thinks about... In fact, I think, okay, so he gets home, he like sits down, you know, he's looking at his spell books and something, and he's not really making any progress, and really, he's been studying all day, so his kind of mind's a bit blank, and he'll shut the spell book and think to himself, you know, I wonder what, you know, Johnny Boy and Sally, the lady that we knew when we were kids, you know, I wonder what they're all up to these days. You know, his old group of friends, really, that he probably used to hang around with all the time and hasn't seen them in a while. And I think he starts to get up and maybe like he takes off his robes and opens a dusty closet and, you know, pulls a couple of outfits out and like lays them on the bed, and they're all like dusty and moth ridden and kind of all a bit fucked up. And realize that everything that was existed of his normal life before now is almost like lost, been untended to for so long, as to the point where it's starting to wither away, and he's like the person he was kind of almost just doesn't exist anymore. And he thinks about what he would even have to say to Johnny Boy and Sally and the rest of the old crew, and they're probably all out doing the same thing and probably don't really have much in common with these people anymore. And I think he just quite sadly like puts probably pulls all of the clothes out of the wardrobe, and will like go outside the room and speak to one of the servants and say, "I've got some old garments on my bed in there. Could you get rid of them for me?"
Of course. And one of the servants comes up to take a look at them. This is one of the servants that have been with your family for a long time, not one of the newer servants. So immediately she takes a look and recognizes that these are like your old clothes from your former life. And she holds one up and sort of like dusts it off a little bit, and looks at you and goes, "I'm sure these will still fit, my lord. Are you quite sure you want them gotten rid of?"
Not really much use to me anymore, I'm afraid. I don't really have much time to visit cocktail parties and the like. Plus, I'm sure most of my friends have moved on at this point. And I mean, I suppose they would still fit, but they're in poor condition. I'm sure you can find someone with more use for them.
Patched up for you. One day the war will be over.
Perhaps see if any of the other staff around the house would make use of them. I don't need them.
Very quickly, she folds them up and hurries out of the room, shutting the door politely as she backs out, leaving you alone with your thoughts and your memories.
I go back to my room. I sit on the bed. The wardrobe's still open. It's empty now. And he looks... I guess he's probably like in... I'm trying to think what Imric wears under his robe. It's probably just like a basic shirt and some pants, I guess, with the robe on top. So he sat there in like what's essentially like undergarments, I guess, a little bit. And he looks to his empty wardrobe. He looks to the robe of dimensional pockets or whatever it's called. And what was it called? Robe of the Dimensionalist on the bed. And he sighs, and he stands up and goes to the robe and puts it back on. And at the end of the room by the door is Whirlwind, is like leaned up against one of the walls, and he'll go and like grab it and bring it with him onto the bed and sort of sit with it with his hand on it and think to himself, I guess outside of my family, you're my only real friend at this point. Maybe Oxombar, I suppose. Nothing gets said. All right, I think Gimrick probably just puts the bow back and wanders around the house maybe for a little bit, wanders the gardens, thinks about the spells he's learning, thinks about what's to come in Glacier, and eventually, heads in for an early night.
Okay. You'll wake up in the next morning to the sounds of shouting and hurrying. You look out your window and you can see your two brothers must have gotten home after you went to bed, and they're already up before you, going off with a troop of bunch of people and a couple of wagons and some empty barrels. There's shouting and yelling as they move through the cold and drizzly day. There's a little bit of ice that's formed along your windows over the course of the night, that makes the window panes a little harder to see through, a little bit wobbly. And
so what are they doing? Are they maybe like preparing the guys that are coming with us on the expedition, like training them for doing stuff in the cold and getting their equipment together and stuff like that?
Yeah. If you look from the window for a moment, it looks like they're trying to estimate the amount of gear that will fit on a sled after having discussed sled mechanics, and they're trying to sort out how one would pack these things, how much stuff that you could put on one, doing estimates of people and gear, and it's just
boring stuff. Yeah,
it's boring bitch work that you could send a servant to do, but they're insisting on doing it. And
yeah. All right, well, I guess I go and get... Do people drink coffee?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'll get a coffee and some food and maybe sit. I am imagining that my room opens up and there's a little balcony overlooking the gardens or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't take that away from me. I stand on my balcony with my coffee and feel excited about what's to come today, because clearly today we're going to succeed in our crystal ball roll, and then we'll be able to go to the wizard airship and I'll meet new people and maybe I'll make some cool new wizard friends, because it's only really Arxombar that understands what I'm going through. Like Anton and Tyrael, they don't really know what it is to be a wizard. They don't understand the hard work that's gone to get to this point, you see, because I know what it's like to be an underperforming, no effort giving wizard, and basically you're stuck at level 1 forever. Mm-hmm. That's essentially what happens. It takes a lot to actually progress, It takes a kind of commitment that Imric maybe didn't have in his life before in recent years, so it would be nice to make some new friends, I think. So having finished his coffee, he'll put his mug down on the balcony. He's still noble after all. He's not going to take it down to the kitchen, so I'll clear that up for him. Mm-hmm. And I'll go to my writing desk and sit down and pull out the crystal ball. And, try and conjure the airship again.
Okay. Give me another roll.
All right. Come on! Oh, for fuck's sake.
So close.
I try to keep again. Oh, okay, so 27. Do I see anything when I try and summon an image of Saladin Keep? I mean, even if it works, I'm expecting I'll probably only see darkness.
You get nothing.
But why? It's just get nothing.
Yeah, you get clouds, water. You're not even sure where you are. Somewhere that's bright, very bright.
Oh, but I am getting a reading. It's just doesn't mean anything to me.
It's like when you failed the airship earlier. It's just sort of...
Oh, okay.
It's junk.
Yeah. Like some non-existent landscape that's just sort of been conjured. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I guess I could continue this role.
Yeah, just give me a bunch of
sad, lonely lifestyle. But I go back to Oxford where I study. I kind of do the same thing.
Just give me a bunch of D100 rolls here.
Oh my god.
3, 4, 5,
for fuck's sake.
6, 7, 8.
I waste a whole week trying to do this. It's stupid.
A week passes with you trying to find this airship, and you're not getting anywhere. And after a week of you coming and trying and coming and trying and coming and trying, Arxombar will take a little bit of pity on you.
So what? The successful roll isn't even mine.
Success roll is not even yours. You only get somewhere with the help of your friends. She will put her hands on the orb and show it to you.
Wait, so is this not 9 days later? This is maybe just a few days later.
This is 9 days later, yeah. It's fine. It's fine. We'll find a way to make it work. Maybe this is in that first week break before you went to Solemn the first time. we can be a little bit flexible.
That makes more sense. Yeah. All right. So I will finally seeing the thing light up. You know, what do I actually see in the airship? Like I'm seeing the airship in the crystal ball. Can I see the ground underneath?
You cannot see the ground underneath. You will see what appears to be a large, some masts with sails, looking like a fairly regular ship with a foresail and a fore and aft castles. Foresails and aftsails? I can't remember the right pronunciation. A large table stretched out in the middle of this place with chairs on either side of it, but no people anywhere. There's a door that leads to the back room, a door that leads to the front room, staircase that goes down, and that's it. You quickly notice that there are no shadows being cast by anything up here, that it's within an area of continual light. So that goes well for you. But at the moment, it's just like soaring above the clouds as you observe.
Yeah, okay. But I think what I shall do is cast clairvoyance below the airship. Maybe like, you know, how high do I think this thing is? I'm try and, like, I don't know, like 500 meters below it. Maybe not 500 meters. Maybe like 1,000 feet below the airship, but looking down on the ground to try and get an idea of where it is.
Yeah, Arcsomber can help you with this. She'll tell you just, watch the airship for a little while. Maybe the clouds will move. And you guys watch for a little while, and the clouds stay, and they stay, and they stay. And then she helps readjust the sensor so it points, horizontally across. And you can see the peak of a singular mountain rising above the clouds here. And it looks sort of familiar. In fact,
it's not Dragon Peak, is it?
Give me a intelligence check.
Yeah, well, it's my second highest stat. Oh, yes, okay, finally.
It's Sky Peak. Like, the very tip of it.
Well, that is somewhat helpful, because it's a place that I know that I could teleport to. Okay, having seen that, I will, instead of casting clairvoyance on the ground like I described, I'm going to cast clairvoyance. So I start casting clairvoyance, my eyes roll back in my head, and I want to look at the teleport platform that I built in the town on Sky Peak.
Give me a scry check. You're very familiar with it?
No, it's clairvoyance, so I don't need it.
Oh, clairvoyance. But yeah, it's gone. It's destroyed.
Yeah. So, fuck. Well, I need to teleport over there. I say to somebody, how fast does this thing move? Is it going to be there for a while, or?
It moves between movement rate 9 and 88, depending on how quickly it needs to travel. Usually somewhere around speed 24.
It's dangerous to teleport to Sky Peak.
Yeah.
Myself, without knowing it too well. I could travel there from here, but it might take me too long. I mean, like, Neal, if I was polymorphing 3 times a day, how fast could I get to Sky Peak? Can you change it to the map on the Roll20?
Yeah. Bring us to the Roll20 map.
So I could go to I could teleport. I could use the amulet. And Sky Peak is like 90 miles away. Okay, I actually think I can get there in 3 castings of polymorph. We said that I could go 67 miles per casting. So I've got 2 castings today. So I should be able to get there today. So happy that will... Why is there a picture of a cat here?
I don't know. I was about to ask. Who drew the cat?
Don't know. It's probably MrMouton.
I mean, he's in game right now, so it must be him.
Yeah. All right. I say to Oxoma, thanks for the help. I think if I go now, I can catch it.
Au revoir.
I will grip my amulet and teleport to the Giant's Cave.
You will find the cave empty. Giants must be out and about.
Yeah, that's fine. I cast my first casting of Polymorph Self. And turn into a giant eagle, I think, is the... I mean, I could be a Pegasus, but it's a little bit more, weird. So I will fly as a giant eagle and land on the close side of the Emerald Run. And from there, I will end the spell, healing myself for D12 HP. Just pointing that out for you, because that's going to be important in Glacier. That for some reason, Polymorph Self heals you when it ends. I don't know why. But I'll end on the close side of Emerald Run, recast the spell, and make my way to Sky Peak from there. I should be able to see the airship in the sky. In fact, I could probably have seen it as I was flying in the first place.
Yeah, it's a small thing. It's difficult to spot at a great distance, but you can break above the clouds and find the airship after a few hours of flying.
I always cast Stone Skin on myself before going adventuring, just to clarify.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure enough, you will see the airship in the distance, and you will get closer and closer. And when you get to a range of about 1,000 feet, just as Arc Somber said, you can hear a bell chime out, like a heavy bong. And as you get to within 500 feet, you can hear 2 more of them. Bong, bong. And when you close to 250 feet, it chimes 3 times in a row. And give me a perception check.
Yep. Luckily for me, my perception is 7.
It's fine.
Which I fail.
It's fine.
I see nothing. And I go to land on the deck of the ship.
You can do so without too much problem. You'll have to shape change at the last instant to appropriately land on the ship, else you'll get caught in the riggings. But you're a trained wizard. You can find a way to shape change and sort of like tumble onto the deck, safe and sound, making your home here well above the clouds. You look about, and there's no one to be seen. There's just this like long dinner table stretched out between the 2 main masts. Tables or with chairs along either side, room to the back, room to the front, staircase down, little staircase up to the back and front as well, where there are little observation decks. You can see a telescope sitting on the top of the front deck of the foresail.
All right, well, I turn back into myself. I sort of smooth out my robes, make sure my bow is doing okay on my back. And I look around me, I look up to the telescope that's on the higher deck, and I make a note of it, so maybe take a look at that later, and we'll, walk past the long table and look for a way down below the deck.
Yeah, you'll notice on the front room of the front door on the foresail is a little plaque that says control room on it. There's a similar plaque on the backside, you can't read from this distance, and a staircase that leads down to the first below deck.
Assuming that I'm not wanted in the control room, I shall ignore that. And go down to the first deck.
I think this is a great point right here to take our break, and when we come back, we can explore the airship together, see what's going on, and who you might run into, and all that other stuff on the other side of our break. Catch you guys later. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tombs of Scoria. Our dearly beloved Imric is aboard the fabled wizard airship.
Yes. I wander, hopefully and willingly, down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I could have dragged that one out a bit longer.
You head down into the stairs to find a very comfortable common space. There's another staircase that heads down even further. But in this room, this large space, there's comfortable chairs, there's table for study, there's like a little fireplace that has some logs burning in it, but you didn't see a chimney outside, you didn't see any stonework outside. It's probably some wizard bullshit.
Magical fire. Cool.
And there's a set of doors, or a single door, I should say, at the back of the room, in the middle of it, like it would open into a hallway that would open into like the back half of the airship.
Is there anyone else in here?
No, it's completely empty. and it's nice and tidy.
All
The
right,
table,
well, you know. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, on the table are like inkwells and pens, or quills, and some ponce and paperweights, and the things that you might use as a studying area. There's a magnifying glass. There's the tools that a wizard would need to study, minus the books or the wizards.
So, continuing my lonely adventure, I was expecting there to be people down here. I stopped walking. The sounds of my steps on the deck of the ship quietening, and I listened. Do I hear any noise from below me, or does it sound like there's anyone here?
You can just hear the wind blowing past.
I reach a hand over my shoulder and touch the bow and say, I guess it's just you and me, out loud, and continue walking through the room, past the cozy seating areas to the next set of doors, I think.
Yeah,
Looking for a library, I guess.
You open the doors and walk through them. There's a hallway that leads to a section with lots of doors coming off of it. You can count 12 additional rooms, and they're all very closely pressed together. This looks very much like in-room sized buildings. There must be just like a bed in each of these, maybe a small table. This area back here is very poorly lit. This hallway has like a single magic lantern hanging in the middle of it. It forms sort of like a T shape where you walk down, and then there's rooms on either side, and then there's like an across, and then there's rooms on either side there. And this little magical lantern barely lights this area, enough that you can see by, but it's obvious that each of these rooms is dark on the inside, while the rest of the place is magically lit.
Yeah, so I assume these are like sleeping rooms or private rooms for study. I maybe poke my head in one or two of them.
Yeah, give me a perception check real quick as you observe this zone.
Perception. 20?
Yeah. You look around a little bit. You open a room or two, poke your head in. They're all empty. Small, single, I guess you'd call them twin beds with a little table next to them. No chair. A small, foot locker at the end and a little chamber pot. That's pretty much it.
All right. I mean, I guess this is where I'll be sleeping later, but I keep walking. I walk through this corridor into the next room, hoping to find someone.
Mm-hmm. You can search the back section here and find nothing else. Head back across the comfortable living space, down the stairs into what appears to be some sort of laboratory. There are vials and beakers and burners and things that you might use to create fire, chemical reagents of all sorts and kinds. You get the distinct impression that this stuff like lives on the ship and you're not supposed to take it away.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty empty here. You step through this into what is a kitchen, not a kitchen, an herb garden. There's sort of like a large middle section here with plants on one side and other plants on the other side and other plants in the middle, various things you've never seen before, brightly colored plants, some plants that have like black with white stripes through them. There are automatic watering systems set up that are essentially just like pots of water with a little string that comes out of the pot of water into the potted plant below, and using capillary mechanics, this little string will slowly supply water to the other little plants. So you could set up a little garden and then leave it, and it would sort of self-regulate until the feeder water bins run out.
I check the water bins. Do they look like they're drying up, or do they look like they may have been filled recently?
Very freshly filled.
Okay, so I assume there must be someone here.
There's one more door all the way at the back of this.
Walk through the laboratory, like run my hands through some of the herbs.
One of them snaps at you.
Oh shit! Okay.
AC 10 without Dex.
I mean,
you have magic robes on though, right?
I've got a bunch of magic armor.
Yeah, so it takes
like 21.
Yeah, so like the little plant snaps on your hand, and you can snatch it away before you take any damage or sustain anything of significance.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, yeah, I walk through the herb garden, down the next set of stairs, or to the next room.
To the next room beyond, you open it, and there is a kitchen with a single woman in it who turns to look over you over her shoulder and gives you a bit of a wave. Hello.
Oh, hello. Oh, I was starting to think that there was no one else here. I take a step forward and offer a hand. My name's Imric McGarry.
She turns, and her head tilts to the side for a moment, and she regards the hand that you stretch out to her, and she does like the looking you up and down and checking you out, like, you know, just a quick assessment of who you are. And as you begin to withdraw your hand, she reaches out her own.
Okay.
I am Dianthe. It's nice to meet you.
Dianthe. Yes, it's good to meet you. Where are you? Where do you hail from? Sorry, are we not meant to talk about our lives outside? It's my first time here.
I prefer to keep my business private, if you don't mind.
I understand. Say, is there a library in this place? Maybe someone who can help me find something?
Top deck, across from the control room on the back side of the ship. You get the books there, and you bring them down to the first deck below for research or study. There's no rooms in the library to read, or no tables.
Is there other people here, or is it just the two of us?
The five of us. Two of us, and the people who made it.
The Wraiths.
And their 9 Wraith assistants, yes.
There's no other living people visiting?
We're the only 2 souls aboard, as far as I know.
I'm surprised. I would have thought this place would be a hub of activity. I was hoping to meet some new people. But I suppose you're more than pleasant enough.
It's nice of you to say. What brings you here, Imric McGarry?
Well, my name is well known back at home, but perhaps you've not heard of our quest. But I look over my shoulder and say, I'm here to do research. I think. I hear Tyrael in my head scolding me for giving away too much information, and say, I'm planning a trip. I was hoping to just do a bit of research before setting off.
Well, this is a safe place. Your research is just as important here as is mine. Right now, I am researching how best to make this. And she'll flip the flying pan, and 2 pieces of flatbread with some sort of cheesy substance in between comes tossing and turning and landing on the other side with a hot sizzle. She grabs a salt shaker and dashes a bit across the top. Would you like to find out if it's any good?
Sure, yeah. I say, I've had this before. Did you butter the flatbread directly, or did you put the butter in the pan?
No. You get the soft butter and you spread it over the flatbread earlier, and then you put one down and add cheese, and then put the other down pre-buttered.
Delicious. Well, yes, if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to take a bite.
Yeah.
I can't say I get much time to do cooking myself. Gastromancy was never one of my main subjects.
An underappreciated school of study, I believe. One day in the future, all great wizards will be gastromancers.
Certainly, yes. There's not many spells that you can make use of every single day.
She hands you some of her food. It's quite good.
Yeah, I taste it. All right.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I'm going to head to the library. Is there a librarian there? Someone that can help me find the books I need?
She shakes her head. No, but it's not that large. You'll find your way around as needed. It's well organized. Just make sure you put everything back as should be done. Without an apprentice here, you'll have to do all of your own paperwork.
Well, so, that's a good point. I've been finding less and less time for my studies recently. I'm being badgered by my colleagues to seek out an apprentice.
You don't have one?
I don't. I was never much of a serious wizard until a year or 2 ago, when things took a change for me. Haven't found the time, but my duties are starting to overwhelm me, and I could do with one. I don't suppose... I could probably find one back home. I was hoping maybe to find one a little bit more experienced. Don't suppose you know anyone looking for a master?
No, No, I've left my apprentices back home, she says, emphasizing the plurality of them. I can't imagine anyone wanting to... I guess I don't know where you're from.
Drekis.
Don't know anyone who would want to travel to Drekis to work for a wizard there. How is it that you are here for the first time and don't have an apprentice? She gestures to your equipment. The bow over your back, most unwizard-like. The fancy magical robes, the rings on your fingers, the magic glasses on your face. These are all... You're very well equipped.
Yes. You really... I don't mean to presume. You really don't know who I am?
I have heard the name before, but we've never met.
No. My brothers and I, we are nephews of the Queen in Drekis. We are working to take down the great beast that threatens all of Arcadia, but particularly our homeland. I assume you know of what I speak.
There is only one great beast in Arcadia.
Yes, well, if I have anything to say about it, soon there'll be none. Hence
it's a very monstrous task before you.
Indeed. Like I said, it's been a strange 18 months.
Well, I don't mean to pry into your business, so I won't ask any more questions.
My older brother wouldn't have it anyway. He says my lips are too loose.
Well, what about the people of Mystria? Are you just out for Scoria? Are you not also seeking conquest?
Well, our task is to kill Scoria. And what happens after that, it's not really my business. It's up to the Queen and the generals. I assume that the war will continue, though. But, well, depends what happens. If things fall favorably, perhaps I can have a more direct hand in making sure that the people of Mystria don't suffer once this is over as much as they had in the past. But it remains to be seen.
She raises an eyebrow at this. Oh? You think they deserve peace? After everything that they've done?
Well, if they're willing to bend the knee to a new lord, I see no reason why they should continue to suffer. They're men and women just like us. Well, maybe not just like us, I say with a wry smile.
She munches her food a little bit.
You're not from Mystria, are you?
That would be very awkward indeed. If you don't mind, I'd like to keep my personal business quite personal. I find the more renown our kind have, the more of a target they are for enemies. I find that it's easiest to go about my business if I keep a low profile and not engage with others. I hope this is not unpleasant for you.
It's probably wise. I felt the blade of more than one dagger attempting to stab me in the back whilst I walked through the streets of my hometown. I don't suppose my fame has done me much favors in that regard.
Assassins after the great Imric McGarry? My.
I know. Well, they weren't successful, as you can see.
Well, as you said, the library's upstairs. I must get on to my next research project. She motions to a pot of water that is slowly boiling.
Looks like it's going to be good. Say, I don't know what you're doing tonight, but once this is all over, if you fancy a drink or to eat together or whatever, since there's no one else here, I'll probably be in the library.
There's no sitting room in the library, but I might find you in the common room sometime.
Yes, that's what I meant. Well, I'll be here for a few days either way, so it's nice to meet you.
I as well. Good day, Imric.
Yeah, I don't have her name right, so I will just I give her a nod and we'll walk out of the kitchen realizing my mistake and head back. Have I explored the whole of this section now?
Yeah, you've walked all over the place. There is one more ladder that heads downstairs, but a quick peek down the ladder lets you know that this is the Griffin Aviary. There's like a hallway that runs down the middle with small rooms on either side where you could put griffins.
All right, I'm actually going to check out the Griffin Aviary. I had that on there.
Yeah, each room is maybe 10 feet wide, and there's, I think, 6 on either side of the ship. So room for 12 griffins total. Poking into each of those, like a little hatch that you would open to get into the griffin room, and then there's like a lever next to the hatch, and you can do a little bit of experimentation to see that the lever opens like a porthole on the side of the ship large enough for a griffin to hop out of, and then you can close it again and to seal it off so there's not just like too much wind blowing in, too much noise.
Any griffins here?
No griffins here, but there's plenty of hay stacked around to give them something soft to sit upon. Barrels of water, some feed, if necessary. Although griffins do prefer horse meat or some other sort of carnivorous thing, but there is some sort of, looks like maybe corn or barley or something laying about.
Sure, I mean, if there's no griffins here, I tend to leave. When you get back up to the top deck to where she said the library was.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can find the library. It's on that same deck that you landed in the back in the forecastle. No, aft castle. I don't know how to pronounce these things. I'm not a sailor.
It means nothing to me anyway, Neal, so...
The back building on the deck.
The back bit, yeah. All right, I get to the library, and I take it in for a moment. I look around. There's no one else here?
Just you and some books in a fairly small room. A lot of bookshelves filled top to bottom. You can peruse through them. You'll see some names that you recognize, but mostly they are names you do not recognize. Brand new books. All manner of topics.
Yeah. To aid in my searching here, so what I'm trying to do is find books that might have any sort of information on Glacier. So I'm going to look for books on the Age of Mist, or just general geographical books, history books, anything like that I think might come in handy, right? And what I will do is I pull out a handful of crystal marbles from my robes and say the words to the prying eyes spell, conjuring. And let me just see how many eyes we've got here. D4 plus 1 per level, so D4 plus 11. So 12. And between them and myself, I'm going to start searching the books of the library for anything that will aid in this topic. And I want any of them to return to me. And if they find a suitable book to return to me, play it back, and I'll go and grab that book and put it in a pile and just do this for the duration of the spell to gather as many as I can.
And what was the subject of study again?
Anything on the Age of Mist, anything on just history, anything on geography, anything on the Frost Ranges of Iowa, if that comes up. Anything that might have information. So what about a book
called Armor of the Ages, A Guide to Identifying Magical Armor? That might cover the Age of Mist, but it would be covering specifically like the armors of that age. Was that something that would be of interest to you?
Yeah, I'm going to pull out everything that I think's of interest, even if it's only vaguely.
Okay.
But if it's like, if it's literally like, a large portion of the library, then obviously I'll filter it down a little bit.
There's a book called Old Languages, What Verbal Components They Couldn't Write Down.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Sure, you can find a couple of things. There is a book called A History of Conjurers 1, The Age of Mist, which looks to be perhaps the best book possible for your research.
Sounds great, yeah. So I think what I will do, I'll gather my books. I'm probably down here for like an hour, given that I can probably check this thing pretty quickly with the prying eye spell. Once I've got my pile of books, I will return my eyes to me and have them just circle around me while I pick up the books. If it's too many to carry, I guess I will take a few trips, I suppose, but I want to try and carry these off somewhere where I can read them.
Yeah, you can cart them down to the floor below, crossing the deck, going down the stairs, plopping them on one of these big tables with a comfy chair nearby. and begin to pore over the books, searching for information of the Lost Age, specifically of Glacia, the fabled, mythical, magic-run kingdom near the top of the world that self-destructed.
Yeah, and I will pick the best books myself to peruse, but I will also... Right, tell me, is it possible for me to use the prying eyes to read the books, to scan the books quickly, right? Because they can read things and they can play it back to me at 10 times speed. So if they find any useful information, they could return to me. I could play it back and at least then get an idea, oh yeah, that's worth checking out, and check it out myself. Now, I'd probably have to turn the pages for them myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I could probably do that. If I had some unseen servants, it'd be better. I could have them turning pages while I read a book. It'd be sick.
Yeah, the small apple. I can see 120 feet in all direction. Subject to illusions, darkness, fog, any other factors that would... I can see normal human would be ability. One around. Any knowledge the wizard possesses is assumed to be known by the eyes as well. So if the wizard knows what a typical Jacalian merchant looks like, so would the eyes. I think this means that they could at least scan the information and play it back to you. I doubt you could comprehend an hour's worth of information in 1 minute, but it could give you at least like a point of reference to start your research. It's a great idea. Brilliant idea, actually.
It's great, isn't it? It's cool thematically as well, like all these little eyes. Be so much better if I had unseen servants to turn the pages as well. That would be really...
Oh, it'd be great. You just go take a nap and let your eyes do their thing, and you wake up later.
Yeah. All right, so I do that. I take note to myself of the fact that I know that Glacia is just what the Frost Rangers call it. So it's probably got some other name. So I'm going to be looking for reference to, the kingdom to the north of the Solemn Continent, essentially. Because I know it's not going to be called Glacia. It's going to be called something else. But anything that references, like... an empire of wizards or whatever. The Frost Rangers have given me some sort of vague information that it was this like massively magical kingdom where there was too much magic and it caused its downfall. So yeah, I'm going to spend the day doing this. My eyes will last for the next 11 hours, so I can spend 11 hours here pouring through all these books. Trying to glean what information I can about Glacia, what happened there. If I can get any indication of town names or anything like that. Any information about the language would be useful as well. Maybe there's some rubbings of old potteryware with words on it or something like that I could see or something. I don't know.
There, you do come across a reference, not in any of the books about, actually, in the one book about the Conjurers of the Age of Mist. Where was that book called? A History of Conjurers 1, The Age of Mist. You find a book in here that references a man, actually, a man named Tychus.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Who seemed to serve as, what do we say? Tychus was from what is called the Great Empire in the North. But it doesn't talk about the Great Empire in the North. It just talks about Tychus and the great conjurer that he was. And the time that he met up with this wizard and that wizard, and when he conjured the first beast from another plane, the first recorded beast from another plane being summoned here, and how Tychus later, opened managed to conjure creatures from the plane of demons. Had some problems with them, overcame them, vanquished them very quickly, sent them back to where they came. And that shortly after exploring the plane of demons himself, he settled down and retired, observing in his final notes to the wizarding community at large that There are greater secrets here than man was ever meant to know, and I have seen too much, and I wish just to live a comfortable, cozy life for the rest of my days. I'm retired. But it talks about him being from this great kingdom in the north.
Yeah.
I know, you know that a lot of places have a north. In fact, every place has a north. But the way that it's referred to makes it sound like it was the top of the world, like the top north, the true north.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I try and... Is there anything, is there little tidbits that might, don't amount to anything on their own, but perhaps might give me clues to find other references in other books?
You keep finding...
maybe, where he was born, perhaps, or who he served, or...
So the book about History of Conjurers 1, The Age of Mist, mentions repeatedly in the book over and over and over again as a constant reminder that the reason it's called the Age of Mist is that this was the time before people bothered to chronicle anything. And so everything that's known about the Age of Mist was oral tradition that was written down during the Age of Heroes. And so the amount of information that's available about that specific first era of the world is just minuscule. It's like finding ancient Sumerian writing. It's there, but there's really not that much of it. It's actually worse than that because they did write things down. It's like finding writings from Lucy back in Ethiopia.
Yeah, okay. Well, what about, tell me if I find more information. I spend all day looking through these books. Do I ever find, a map of the world? A whole map? Not just a map of Arcadia or a map of Solomon, but a map of the world with the Dardanelles and Solomon, potentially Glacier on it as well.
Inconveniently for you, conveniently for me, there is no map of the world here.
It's not really convenient, Neal, when you just make it up yourself.
It's very convenient that I rolled a die. Yeah, didn't you?
Okay, you rolled a die.
I rolled a die.
Yeah.
It's very convenient.
All right, well, I don't know. I spend the day looking through all these books. I'm scouring the library for information. If I don't find anything, then I shall pursue other avenues, but I will at least dedicate this day to it.
Give me one full intelligence check.
Okay.
Your eyes will return to you other things about the Age of Mist, things that you can find here and there. A few wizards are mentioned. There's a man named Drexel that is written about, some sort of great archlich, the first most powerful mage of the world, the first great mage, and the things that he did during the early days of the world and how they filtered down ever since.
Is there a lot written about this guy? Is there a lot written about this guy?
There's a little written about him. He's mentioned in sort of the same way that one might mention the Pope, where the Pope is just such an obvious reference that you don't need to talk about the Pope. You can be like, oh, and the Pope said blah, 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 and did blah, blah, blah. And you don't need any reference on who the Pope was because it's just it's a thing that we all know about. They talk about Drexel a little bit, but they don't talk too much about his deeds. The impression you get from the writing is you should already know this person, famous enough in history that I don't need to recount their deeds for them. I
suppose I do then, right? Know some about him.
You would know some about this. Yeah. You would know very little. You've heard the name once or twice in reference to a great and powerful, very evil wizard, not indistinguishable, but indefinite, obvious bad guy wizard. Drexel's the man who works for Malchus and comes in the night and steals the dreams of children. And that's, an overblown thing. But, he did work with nightmares. He was sort of an arch-lich whose life continued on for age after age after age after age. Something about him being close with Malchus, and then the rest of it's sort of kind of lost.
Okay.
You will... Let's see, God, what'd you roll? You roll an 18, natural 4.
It's terrible.
Bad die rolls today, dude.
Wow, what's new?
Yeah. We'll leave it at that for now. That is your first day on the airship. the same woman who was working the kitchen below will meet you for dinner. It appears that she has spent the afternoon making some sort of great stew.
Nice. Is she sharing?
She is sharing. She will ladle you out a full bowl, sit opposite of you at a table, and eat quietly without really disturbing you or bothering you.
All right. Desperate for company, I'll say. Didn't have any luck today. Trying to find what I needed in the library. I was researching the Age of Mist, and I know that they didn't write stuff down, but I was expecting perhaps here, of all places, there may be some information to glean, but I found only but one book with even a hint of information.
In between spoonfuls of soup, she mentions, well, you know how wizards are. Everyone wants to break new ground and uncover great secrets. No one wants to sit down and write for years by hand all the things that they've done and said, and then gift that book to another person. We need more scholars in this world, more people who are here to write the histories and keep the academic records. Less people out for their own self-improvement, self-power. If only there were more selfless wizards in the world who would have a better understanding of what has come before us.
Academics are needed in times of peace. Unfortunately, a man with a sword is more important than a man with a pen at this time in history.
Oh, it's definitely not true. Don't you know the old expression, the pen is mightier than the sword? What happens on legal paper impacts the lives of the individual far more than what happens on the battlefield. The innocents in, what's a town? Limestone must be protected, and their protection comes from our agreements, which are written down to make sure they stay the same. Pen is truly mightier, Mr. McGarry.
Limestone, that's in Eridon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last I heard, the laws and institutions of Eridon are worth naught at the moment. The whole government there has collapsed.
Her eyes dim. She looks down towards her soup. It's a tragic thing that happened to those people. All of them in the East.
Those beasts from the, did you see them?
I heard of them.
The plane of demons. Horrendous things. Fearsome.
Can't imagine who would do such a thing.
I'm sure it was a simple mistake. No, I don't know.
Simple mistake?
Perhaps the work of some great lich.
Well.
Though, sometimes the terrors that befall upon the world can just be an easy mistake of a wizard venturing too deep into the unknown.
This is true.
I was reading, in my quest, I was reading of the wizard Tychus. Have you heard of him? From the Empire in the North, in the Age of Mist.
I've known the name, but I can't remember anything about him.
One of the first wizards to conjure beasts from another plane, took some from the second plane, and then ventured there himself. Upon his return, he immediately retired, for he had seen too much terror, if you believe it, as he wrote it.
I get that feeling myself. I've seen too much of this world already. I've seen too much suffering, too much pain. That's why I'm here, trying to find a way to ease the lives of the people in this world. Quietly, from the sidelines, without attracting too much attention, of course. But it would be nice if things weren't so hard. It'd be nice if life wasn't so terrible.
Yes, well, things seem to be getting worse at the moment, but with any luck, within a year or two, things will be looking brighter. I've heard that the plague that spreads across Eridon has been contained in Heatstrike.
Oh. Yeah, things were getting better for me and mine. They were on the up and up. Yeah, things were improving.
Where?
Well, then, you know. Wars and soldiers and dragons and flying wizards.
this can I tell by her accent where she's from, or at least have
There
an
is
idea?
a comprehend languages spell across the board. Everyone is speaking probably their own in separate language, but it's just magically
accent,
translating.
Does she not have an accent, or it's
No,
somehow smooths
magically
it out?
translating. Yeah, because you're probably
Okay.
speaking Drakisian, and she's probably speaking Eridonian, or Akuban, or Mystrian, or Elven, or Matavan, or something like that. Maybe even Drakisian herself, but the automatic translation gives you accentless conversation.
All right. Well,
I guess you could detect like rank, like social status, though.
okay, and maybe
Give me a charisma check. See if you can what sort of social status you can get.
I know that there's not much difference in race in Arcadia, but perhaps in the Dardennes or in Solemn, people might look slightly different
Yeah,
as well. You said charisma, right?
charisma, please.
Another 18. So
Yeah. She's got that like well-refined speech of an academic. So she could have been born a lowly person and just happens to, speak proper now. But she does have that sort of academic tone to her. As for skin tone, she appears to be from somewhere in like the Arcadia latitudes. It's maybe a little bit on the pale side, as most wizards tend to be. They spend a lot of time indoors, like no tan is what I'm trying to say. Not a lot of direct sunlight on her skin. You do have the benefit of a true seeing effect going on, and you'll note that she's not carrying any magical items of any kind with her whatsoever. Her clothes are fairly plain and ordinary. She's just wearing like a simple red robe with a simple,
I must look just like glowing in all magic, right? Does she project an aura?
Ooh, do you see that with true seeing? I think you do.
Yes, yeah. Only if she's 9th level, though.
Yeah, you will get an aura of lawful good from her.
Nice. Snap. So this is why we're fast friends, right? We're both lawful good. I think once I've finished my stew, I will push my... I stand up and I go to take her bowl as well and say, this was delicious, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll take the bowls to the kitchen and sit back down and I say, I know we're not really meant to be discussing outside business here. I was hoping there would be more people here. I've come across something in my travels that I can't quite understand myself, and I was hoping to maybe seek the advice of another wizard.
Advice
Care to take a look?
Of course, advice can be passed freely, as long as there's no outside business. What do you need help with?
I reach into a pocket and slowly pull out the rope of scintillating colours and lay it on the table between us, making sure there's no stew there, obviously. And I say,
oh my.
Well, I won't say where I found it, but I've come across this, but I have robes of my own. Not much use for it.
And do you need help identifying it, or she picks it up and sort of turns it over and looks at it?
No, not so much identifying it. I just can't really make use of it. I feel like I perhaps lack the wisdom to unlock its secrets. I've seen it used in battle. Can't say it helped the chap too much. It's quite powerful. Before I realized the rules here, I was looking to maybe trade it for something that could be more useful for me. I know this is a very powerful item in the right hands, but you don't seem to adorn yourself too much with the magical trappings of our order. So,
well, it's a safe place up here. I figure I don't need any such trappings, and it's better for a low profile if I don't carry them.
That makes sense.
A little bit easier to go unnoticed.
Not the advice I'd taken myself, I say, looking down at my overwhelmingly glowing magical aura.
She does give you the up and down, like noticing your sandals and your robes and all your rings, your weapons, your bags, all the things.
Yeah, everything.
Where I come from, a great many people prefer the ostentatious display of wealth and power. It is in line with what I've heard of you and your people.
The trappings of nobility, I'm afraid. So I look around over my shoulder and say, yeah, I don't suppose you would know anyone that would be interested in this?
Oh, certainly I do, yes.
And I know we can't necessarily talk about it here, but these friends of yours, where would I find them?
I don't know. How do I say? I know plenty of people who would want such a thing. I don't know anyone who would be willing to pay you a fair trade in a peaceful situation where everyone could come and go without fear for their life. And it's about now that sort of creeping through the floor below you comes one of these wraith-like figures. Face is sort of lost within the shawl of the robe that they carry. They hover a few inches off the ground, and they just lurk ominously, maybe 8 feet away from you after they come through the floor. The woman before you gives a look to the thing for a moment and then looks back at you and says, "Perhaps we should change our conversation. If you have a direct offer."
I look to the wraith and say, "Apologies, it's my first time," as I gather up the robe and shove it back into my pocket. Mm-hmm. And I wait for him to disperse back through the floor, or does he just stand and wait for a bit?
He stands and waits for a bit.
Yeah. Well, alas, never mind. Perhaps I'm stuck with it. I'm sure I'll find someone eventually. Maybe an apprentice would need it.
Mm-hmm. What does it do? She says, picking up a book and leaning back in her chair and flipping through the pages.
It shines with bright colors, blinding your foes in all directions.
Oh, that's fabulous. For
at least that's what it did when I came across it. So far for me, it's just managed to be an expensive robe with not much else.
Mm.
A cruel joke the gods have played on me by giving me it.
They are odd creatures, setting up the most, what do you call them? Fortuitous and frustrating of circumstances.
Tell me about it. My brother is a cleric of Valthara. He's always been a bit hard-spoken, difficult to read. Kept himself to himself. But as the months have gone on and our quest has taken us to more dangerous places, I fear he leaves behind his humanity in place of his love for the gods. You know, the shell of the man he once was when we set out.
Those who serve powerful entities often get wrapped up in them and lost from them. It's true for your brother as it is for my liege lord and everyone in power where I come from. I'm sure it's the same across all the lands beyond the great seas. You'll notice that the spine of the book she's reading is entitled Practical Magic for Daily Living.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I try and keep my humanity in place, but it's difficult to see the wood through the trees at times with everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. Well, I should get some sleep. I'll probably be spending the rest of my next couple of days in the library. So perhaps we can talk again tomorrow.
I'll have to leave in a few days myself, but I'll see you about.
Say, how did you get up here? Is there a way to teleport here? I've heard rumors. A colleague of mine mentioned in passing teleporting here, but I can't imagine how that would work. The thing's constantly moving. As far as I know, you teleport to a fixed place.
The most useful, practical way is wait till the airship is overhead and then fly.
Yeah, so that's how I got here myself. But if there was a way to teleport, perhaps I could go back and gather some things and come back. But I should look into it myself.
Perhaps a teleport without error spell would be needed.
Maybe. I didn't know. Well, never mind. It's been good speaking to you, and I stand up and make my way to one of these sad little rooms.
Yeah. You'll find when you go in that there's like a little switch that you can drop down that acts as a lock. It's just like a wooden lock. You're pretty certain you could kick it open if you really needed to, but it does hold the door open so no one can like accidentally open it from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a corresponding like little wooden plate that will shift when it's down to indicate that it is locked, and kind of gives like a locked symbol over it. And you can sleep.
Well, yep. I sleep, and as I lie in my bed, I think to what I'm going to try to achieve in the morning. So I'm looking at my list of stuff here, right? Failing to sell the robes, failing to find an apprentice, failing to find information on Glacier. So potion recipes and scrolls, and learn the spell Lesser Disintegrate. So I think perhaps I shall seek out this Lesser Disintegrate spell in the library tomorrow, and maybe look for some sort of book that might give me information on what components I would need to make scrolls and potions.
Absolutely. You come across the Lesser Disintegrate spell. It's promptly labeled in one of these early level 1 spell books that are just lying around. You can go ahead and roll for it.
Wait, it's a level 4 spell.
Lesser Disintegrate? Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of Minor Disintegration. Lesser Disintegrate is quite a bit more powerful.
Yeah.
Yes, Lesser Disintegration, the 4th level spell, is available here. It is not in a proper like book. It's in this set of brass sheets that are about, yay thin, like quite thin sheets, but still thick enough that they're solid all the way through. And it looks like it's been carved out or traced, like the words have been traced with a finger on the brass sheets. And so there's maybe like a whole stack of them, and you would like lift one and turn it over, lift one and turn it over, and it's heavy as shit. There's 50 of them, makes a regular book, and it has many spells written within it.
Crazy. This is, I think to myself, whichever wizard made this must have lived a very inconvenient lifestyle lugging this around. I thought my spell book was heavy.
Yeah.
Can I take if I get a piece of paper and some charcoal, can I take a rubbing of this? Is that going to give me enough information to learn the spell, or is it going to be too imprecise?
You could probably do that. Yeah. Why not?
I might try that, and then maybe I'll trace over it with ink or something. I don't want to learn it now while I'm here, but if I can take it with me and perhaps learn it on the ship on the way to Glacier or something.
You can grab some charcoal and get a piece of paper and do a rubbing that's good enough that you could later hand it off to an apprentice to properly jot down.
Yeah.
Or do it yourself.
Okay, so I find that, I do that, and now I want to find, I don't know if you've got this information, Neal, but I want to try and work out which potions and scrolls I might be able to make. Even if I have to go and gather some components myself.
Yes, I have lists of things and the spells that you need for them-ish. I don't necessarily have a handoutable list, but I do have the spells one might need. What are you looking for? Do you have a list of potions you want?
Well, potions, I'm not sure, because potions could be spells that I don't even know.
Right.
The scrolls, it's got to be from my spell list, so that limits it a little bit. So, potions, good things would be fly, polymorph self.
So for flying, you can find... you're going to know... You'll find a recipe for the potion of fly here. You will need pixie dust or the horn of a gargoyle for the ingredients.
Well, I actually have 20 gargoyle horns. Do I feel like that would work?
Yes.
Okay, so I can make that. What about polymorph self?
Ooh, come on.
Oh, I think it was Mimic Ichor.
Mimic Ichor.
Where would I even find that?
Where does one find a mimic?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, notably, they're hard to find.
One, it would have been us. Yeah.
Yeah, but normally you wouldn't even know that there's a mimic. And if you do have mimics, you wouldn't tell someone that you have mimics, right? They're a trap creature to begin with. So finding them or getting their location ahead of time is a difficult task.
Let's see, I'm just looking through the list of potions here. Clairvoyance would be pretty cool.
Clairvoyance. Ooh, I don't have ingredients for this one yet.
Maybe the eye of something.
Yes. You need the... What do you call them? An eye of a lensman, or the eye of a...
Lensman meaning the things from the demon plane.
So when you come across it, it just says Eye of a Lensman. You know that of a creature called a Lensman that is demonic in origin. It's possible that there are multiple things called a Lensman. That seems like a pretty, generic looking name. Yeah.
Okay, so I mark that maybe to try and look for information on mimics and lensmen and maybe what they are. What about invisibility as well?
A crystal of perfect clarity or a 100 GP diamond.
Okay. 100 GP diamond. I can definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about scrolls. So if I can make the invis potion and the fly potion, that's definitely good. For scrolls, let's see. Reveal doors.
As a
Only level
spell?
1. As a scroll, yeah.
Reveal doors. You will need burning 200 GP, 100 GP worth of burning incense.
Okay, so that I can do. Hold portal.
Hold portal. Let me just find this here. Require hold portal is a first level spell. It will require a rare ingredient, which is defined as I can't find my table.
That's right.
Here we go. A rare ingredient. What spell was this again? Sorry.
Hold portal. It's level 1, actually.
Right. Hold portal. For a scroll of hold portal, you're going to need what is a strong reinforcing element. Maybe like a bar of mithril that weighs a quarter of a pound, or no, that's too much. That's too much stuff. A pinch of mithril dust. One coin of mithril dust, essentially.
Okay. That's good. Knock. Sorry, Neal. There's going to be a few of these.
Yeah, I get you. I just want to.
A golden key, perhaps, for knock. Worth at least 100 GP or something like that.
Yes. Particularly grade of silk, diamonds, feathers, ebony. Iron. Yes, you need a key, a regular key forged by a master dwarven smith.
Okay. Let's see, what else would be useful here? Locate landmark.
Requires a dowsing rod from one of the off of an elven building. We would know that elven buildings are essentially living trees, and a dowsing rod would be a specific type or shape of branch or twig produced from one of these great elven trees.
I'll go and snap a few from the embassy and Wicked on Renter. That should be fine. Okay. Let's see what's else. I don't want to do this forever. Water breathing would be good. And
that's a 2nd level spell?
That's 3rd level.
3rd level.
Maybe the component is a fish, so maybe it's some sort of fancy fish. I don't know.
All things between 1st and 3rd require a rare ingredient. Okay. So rare ingredient for water breathing is going to be the gills from a fish who was raised. Ooh, that's not right. That doesn't make sense. Gills of a mud skipper harvested, before its first birthday, before it's been 1 year old. Of a young mud skipper, we should call it.
Okay. All right. So, having learned all this, I now want to try and research. Right. Number 1, what the fuck is a lensman? Where could I find a mimic? And where do mud skippers live?
Yeah. There are books on the flora and fauna of Arcadia. The mud skipper you can find fairly easily. They live near the mouths of river exits. In particular, in Drekis, you can find mud skippers at the end of the River Voden or at the Lamdune River.
Could I find them in the Riverlands where our keep is?
The book doesn't specify that they're there, but that is an area that has the right topography. It's quite possible that they could be there, but the book doesn't specify.
Okay, so I can go and check in on Mother and do that. What about any clue on what a lensman or a mimic Icor is? Sorry, or where I can find a mimic?
No information on the lensmen. The information that you get on mimics is just that they are sort of aberrations created by wizards that now sort of self-replicate in small ways and are kept as deterrents and devices. They don't have any natural environment. They don't have any place that they might, reside in. They are not a part of the ecosystem as a whole. They are created monsters. You'd probably just need to talk to a bunch of wizards to see if anyone knows where you can get some mimic Icor, or if someone has a mimic on hand.
Yeah, so I guess I will mention this to Danthea, was her name?
Oh, you did remember it.
Yeah, sorry, I did, eventually.
Thank you, Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Deonthe,
yeah. Yeah, maybe she has a mimic, or knows where I might find one.
You ask her about the mimic Icor. She says, what is the mimic Icor for?
For potion recipe, polymorph self. That's how I got here, actually.
It's
one of those spells that it's useful, but it's not always necessary. But I find myself learning it every day just in case, if I could get a few potions of it.
I've always wondered if you could polymorph yourself into a dragon with that spell.
The spell doesn't work for creatures too large. Maybe a really small dragon.
Small dragon, like a pseudo dragon or a baby dragon. You can't decide the age class that you would be, right? You would just. Would you end up as a hatchling because you're only 25 years old? Or
there's some control over the size, I think. I can't say I've tried. I hate to pick you up on this, but is a pseudo dragon really a dragon? Clues in the name.
Point. I don't know if it's in the name that it's not quite.
Yeah, exactly.
Is a spear a sword on a stick? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, and then one other thing.
Shouldn't the queen have a mimic? She interrupts you. I would expect there to be a great many mimics in Castle Drekis or Castle the Wicker Throne, whatever you call it.
Wicker Throne Marenta. Yes. Why would the queen have a mimic? I hadn't considered this. Perhaps. Just so much treasure, they just find their way there.
Well, I would expect that the Crown of Drekis has a treasury that is easy to access, or at least easy to find, that is filled with mimics. That is not the real treasury.
Well, food for thought. Thank you. I might check that out. I think my study here is complete. I was hoping to find more information, but alas.
Already?
The library. Yes, well, time is of the essence. I have a trip planned, and I can't spend weeks searching the library here for information that probably isn't even there. It's nice to have met you, though. I'd say we should, stay friends, maybe write to each other, but if I don't know where you live, I don't know if I can do that. I can tell you're from Arcadia. It does feel a little bit one-sided that you know so much about me, and yet I barely know your name.
What can I say? I'm a quiet woman. Not all of us like to boast and brag and put our wealth on display, she says, sort of gesturing to your overall thing.
Yes.
There are quite a few people like me out there. Those of us who like to go about our work and remain hidden. It's how we manage to survive all the years.
I understand.
Is it true that you and your brothers have been going through all the old tombs and all the old graves and disturbing them for all of their possessions, leaving their spirits to wander the afterlife forevermore, lost of the things they had once before?
I'm not quite sure that it works exactly like that. My brother doesn't seem to think so, and he is a godly man. But yes, we've been traveling all around Arcadia searching for artifacts to help us defeat it.
You're not the person I thought you were going to be, Mr. McGarry.
I get that a lot, would you believe?
I thought you would be much more... Well, I haven't seen you touch wine since you've arrived. And you've been polite. You've cleared dishes of your own accord.
Well, I don't get much chance for that. Growing up with servants and the like, I like to make an effort where I can. As for the wine, yes, I was rather fond of it. But my duties over the past 18 months have somewhat sobered me up, if you can imagine. I don't think I'd still be here if I was drunk the whole time.
She walks across the room to a cabinet, opens it up, pulls out a carafe, pours a single tumbler with a sort of ruddy brown liquor, pours a second tumbler halfway with a ruddy brown liquor, puts the carafe away, brings both over and sets them down. One just shy of half side across the table. Not quite like, here, drink this, but like definitely within arm's reach. And then holds the other for herself and raises it in your direction.
I'll take the glass and say, just because I'm not a drunk doesn't mean I'm teetotal. And I'll, cheers the glass to her and slowly sip this dark brown liquor.
Mm-hmm. I didn't grow up with servants in the first half of my life, she says, volunteering personal information right away. My parents were stable grooms, I guess you would call them. Managed stables for a very wealthy family once upon a time.
How far you've come?
Well, around the age of 12 years old, they were working in the stables one night with my older siblings. A horse was giving birth, and something happened, and the whole of the stables went up. Half the herd was lost, as well as my parents and my siblings.
It's a rough start.
Takes a drink. Brought up by the nobles that my family worked for as one of their own, essentially. It's how I got the head start to be who I am today.
It's nice of them to do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure my family would have done that for one of our servants.
That's closer to the stories they tell.
Yeah. Well,
How is it that you have such a kind side to you, Imric McGarry?
You know, I never really felt destined for greatness or anything. You know, I went to wizard school. I didn't pay too much attention. I was content to just get drunk and use my family's money to live a life well lived, if you know what I mean. And when all this started, my brothers, Tyrell and Anton, are much more serious people than me. And this, like I said, this whole it's been very sobering. It's had an impact on me. It's made me humbled somewhat. You know, I never thought I was destined for great things, and now that it's happening, I don't really have the ego to match it. I still struggle to learn spells, if you'd believe, and my spell books are thin. There's not too much I can keep in my comprehension at once. I'm far from the world's greatest wizard.
She finishes her drink, goes back to the cabinet, opens it, pours another, closes the cabinet, and comes back. Your spellbooks are thin. You, the Slayer of Dragons, the future Scourge of Scoria?
Yes, that's right. It's embarrassing, I know, but I've handpicked the spells that I think could be most useful to me.
I understand that one of your brothers is a butcher and the other is a petty thief, but I thought there was one of the three of you with a head on their shoulders.
Well, at least I'm pleasant to talk to. It's more than I can say for my brothers.
I remember having brothers. She sits down heavily in her chair, looking off into the distance, even though there's, no distance to look into. I might not be able to tell you much about who I am and where I come from, for my own safety and yours. But where I'm from, I don't get a lot of opportunity to speak openly about past, or want, or desire. There's a lot of responsibility where I come from. A lot of heavy pressure.
Tell me about it.
Do you feel the same? I know you've tasked by some queen of yours to go overrun a kingdom. Do you feel the weight of that?
Of course, to save the life. Not only, consider this: if I were to fail in my duties and die out in the field, not only would I allow Scoria to continue our reign of terror, but the treasures that we have dutifully stolen would be lost, potentially to the enemy, potentially to the sands of time. I hope that once this is over, right, that these things that we've taken can be returned. But if we die along the way, then
she sets
that'll never happen.
Drink down sort of heavily, and then collects herself for a moment. You would return all that you've taken from the tombs of the dead.
Perhaps not all of it. Those things that are in the hands of my brothers perhaps would not be so easily pried from their grasps, but there are things that I carry with me that I no longer make use of, that remain with me only for a lack of time. But once this is all over, I think I would make a point of returning what I could.
Really? You would give that up, she says, pointing to your robes.
These. There's no one to return these to. The man who owned them, well, he's gone now. Not for the first time, but this time I hope for the last.
Well, aren't everything you possess belonged to someone else once upon a time?
Yes, but this was no normal wizard. He made these himself. He was somewhat of a beast. You may have heard of him. They called him the Wraith of the Tetherwilds. Goes by the name of Georg.
She shakes her head. Never heard of him.
He's, well...
Tetherwilds are in Eridon, though.
Yeah. He was turned to stone by the demons. Somewhat falling into a bragging. We rescued his statue from within the temple at Heatstroke. Had to kill a beholder to get it.
A beholder?
Yes. I didn't see much of it. The only safe way to fight it was in darkness.
You wanted to kill Scoria, and you kill a beholder.
Practice. But
Not
yes, anyway,
your
we rest.
greatest possible weapon?
The beholder.
Yes.
I think.
Capture
well,
it, deploy it at your enemy?
You went there. These things aren't so easily captured.
Hold on. She gets up, pours herself another drink, this time not returning the carafe to the cupboard, but setting it on the table between the two of you, and then goes to fetch something from her room, leaving you with the carafe and what I assume to be an empty glass at this point.
No, I think I'm sipping it. I mean, it's not been too long. I'm not looking to get drunk here, you know. I take a few drinks for the enjoyment of it, but I'm not like necking it or whatever. So I sip it to myself, and I think I sit back in my chair and I smile, and it's nice, you know, to be having a drink with someone new, not just trying to get drunk, and speaking to someone new.
Mm-hmm. She comes back a few minutes later with a spell book. Opens it up, flips through the pages, and points to a particular spell written in... you can read everything. You can read magic. You can read Drakissian. You can read Akuban, whatever you want. A spell called Hold Person, and you'll notice that it is a necromancy variant of Hold Person. She slides it across to you and lets you peruse it. And it talks about a spell in which you position a creature against a mirror and then lock the person in that mirror. And the mirror's got to be sort of large enough that they can stand next to it because it holds a full person, but then you trap them in a mirror dimension. And as you get through the first forward of the book, of the spell, she mentions to you that with this spell, anyone trapped in the mirror cannot act outside of it, save for maybe a shatter spell or something like that. But they would be stuck two-dimensionally, no gaze attacks, or, well, maybe the gaze attacks would come through. But forever locking this creature into this other dimension until such time as the glass is broken and they are released.
Interesting.
You could use something like this to trap a beholder and then break the mirror over Scoria, unleashing the creature.
And what if her magical defenses prove too much for the beholder?
I'm sure the beholder would die very quickly. Scoria is a great and powerful creature.
Where's my plan from there? No, I'm afraid I've given it some thoughts, as you can imagine, about how best to destroy this beast, and I keep coming back to one problem. I look around and I think, should I tell this person our plan here? And maybe once upon a time I would have. I say, the thing with Scoria, it's the breath weapon you've really got to be scared of. There's no surviving that. I've got rings of fire resistance. I've got my brother has amulets of health to, his life is more than any normal man. But even with all these protections and all these boons, Scoria's fiery breath would burn us all to a cinder. No. You can protect from this with magic, but what use is that against the dragon that can dispel it at a click of a finger? Perhaps a beholder would work, but there is no easy way out of this.
Hide behind it. It's anti-magic ray, preventing Scoria from casting spells at your direction. I mean, what wizard hasn't spent time thinking about how to overcome this monster who's ruled lands for 1,000 years-ish? You ever wonder how the people of Mystria survived all that time?
It's a curious thing. I always imagined them under the heel of its boot, servants to its evil will. Depending on where you go in Mystria, though, you see two different places. Some downtrodden, the people, their eyes cast down, their buildings shoddy, their streets dirty. And then other places you travel to, and it's as if you're in the heart of Wicthron Renta. Tall building, smiling children, music. Not what I expected. I have to say, despite toiling through books of ancient magics and wisdom, the state of Mystria confuses me.
It's probably because you've been told so many falsehoods. Propaganda for the war effort, I'm sure. No offense, just talking openly about how wars are waged.
It's the way things are. I'll pull the book to me, closer to me, and start looking at it. I feel like this is her spell book.
Mm-hmm.
Did she went and got it from her room? Not.
Mm-hmm.
I like put a finger under one of the pages to turn it and say, "May
I?" She'll gently press a hand in the midsection of the book and slide it away from you. I probably shouldn't even be sharing this with you. I meant to make a big deal about it keeping my identity secret, and here I am, leaving clues.
It's alright. Did you create that spell yourself? I've not heard of it myself. Similar to a whole person spell, but different.
No, I dredged it up here. There's a collection of scrolls from some wizard a million years ago out of the lost island of Bravo.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever been there. The lost island of Bravo. Seems there is more and more islands and continents hidden away than I thought.
The Arcadian island of Bravo? Lost when the gods split the world?
I suppose that does ring a bell.
Guarded by a giant beast that lurks in the seas, keeping people from it. Overrun with jungles and tall mountains.
Sounds lovely.
It's dangerous from what I hear. I've not visited. I thought about it once, but responsibility keeps me where I am.
Visiting dangerous places is becoming a habit of mine, actually. Maybe one of these days I'll find myself there.
Maybe one of these days you won't come back.
Well, I hope not. Could happen at any time. Say,
I hope not, too. You're a nice fellow.
Thank you. Say, you know many other wizards around Arcadia? You know,
Only
Scoria's wizard. Do you know anything about this guy? This lady? Whoever they are? I understand. I don't want to involve you in my problems here, but I'm afraid that Scoria is all of our problems.
She's been in Mystria for almost 1,000 years.
Scoria or the wizard?
Scoria. She hasn't bothered the other lands much. I mean, sure, there was that thing a couple hundred years ago where she, burned half of North Eridon, but aside from that,
she constantly raids into the elven forests, burning their trees.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
She has many enemies outside of Drekis.
Many. And with many enemies within Mystria itself, I'm sure. And imagine, how many times in 1,000 years did some brave group of knights think that they could bring her down? How many times do you think that's been done in the last 1,000 years? Wizards,
many.
soldiers.
I wonder if any ever got close.
If they did, I doubt she would tell us.
Yeah, me neither. If she has a weak point, she keeps it quiet.
I doubt she could live this long if she advertised her faults. I know very little of Scoria's personal servants. They say she has... her own personnel. That the people of Mystria are separate from her empire. They just happen to be under her heel. Yes? What do you know?
I reach into a pocket and pull out the 5-fingered golden, like the thing that the wizard with the Dragon Knights was wearing. I pulled this from one of her wizards traveling around with a group of knights flying a red dragon banner. She took some time, but she spoke all about Scoria's personnel, as you put it. But not once did she mention the wizard. I imagine whoever they are, they've been here at a time. Perhaps sat at this very table.
Quite possibly. She rubs her hands into the table. a great many wizards and monsters have sat at these tables. If you think about the history of this place, the countless generations that have passed, coming and going, sitting here, it's almost enough to make one feel like an elf.
Almost. Alas, we're very far removed from that. I'll pour myself another drink, finishing this one.
Yeah, you can tell that her mood has darkened somewhat, her brows a little more furrowed. She's slouching in her chair and holding her cup, maybe her third cup of drink, a little more lazily, letting it swirl, but the swirls get a little close to the rim for comfort.
Well, this conversation took a dark turn. I'm afraid that Scoria and her minions occupy most of my thoughts these days. As you can imagine. I'm just as like to die in that cave as anywhere else.
Yeah, I suppose. But better to die doing what you think is right than to die doing the bidding of others.
I think on that. It is right. But it is also the bidding of others. I'm afraid. Despite all my power, I am but a pawn in the schemes of an old lady. She's not too different from Scoria herself, I say with a laugh. It's not really true. But in a way, they both run a kingdom.
Hasn't she burned spies that she's caught? She's not that different. Shorter, I'm sure. Less massive. No fire breath, but,
My aunt, she can be a tough cookie at times, but there's warmth there, kindness. I doubt you would see that in Scoria, even if you spent decades conversing with her.
I think you're too close, Imric McGarry. I think you're too close.
What do you know of red dragons? They are evil to the core. There's no goodness there.
I know that a woman who sends an army deep into a dragon's territory knows the dragon will come and destroy it. I think that a woman who knowingly sacrifices her largest army does so for a reason, to provoke further conflict, to have an excuse to do what she wants, creates suffering of her people, and uses it as a rallying point for her to do as she pleases.
No. You've got it all wrong. The Queen's not like that. Sometimes tough decisions have to be made. People will be sent to their deaths, but so is that's just the reality of war. She has the best will for her subjects. She does what's best for Drakus.
Even if it means killing large swaths of Dracusians and Mystrians, and
if it means sending men to war, then yes. But that's not the same as
But what if when you send someone to war for the purpose of creating more war? What if you send people to war knowing that they will fail so that you can refine your plan and redefine your enemy?
Well, I don't know that that's happened, and I don't suppose that you could know that for sure either. But even if it had...
I don't pretend to know the mind of the Queen of Drakus.
Men and women die in war all the time for tactical reasons. It's up to a general or a monarch to decide what those reasons are and how they're best served. She doesn't take pleasure in cruelty, as I'm sure Scoria does.
Wasn't the war between Drakus and Mystria originally a skirmish in Eridon over the looting rights that led to the Dracusians invading Mystria? And then when the invading army predictably met Scoria head-to-head and was destroyed, didn't that lead to the rallying cry of overrunning all of Mystria and using Scoria as the boogeyman, who never once posed a threat to Drakus, as the point of conflict for which to overrun all of Arcadia? Is that not...
Conquest. Well, there's some truth to it, but conquest is the bread and butter of monarchs. It's a noble cause in of itself. As for her sending the army knowing that Scoria would get involved, I take issue with this. I feel like you maybe been reading or spent too much time theorizing about things that you don't have all the information about.
That's true. I've never once met the Queen of Drekis. I don't know much about her. But either she is a great manipulator, or she's an idiot.
Well,
I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Perhaps more the former than the latter. But like I said anyway, she's always been kind, in my experience, to me, at least.
I'm sure. You, her greatest asset.
Even before that, when I was just a useless drunk, she still always smiled kindly at me, although I admit I see a lot more of her these days.
I think I am too into my cups this evening. I should retire before I ruin this cordial relationship we've developed.
Perhaps. Well, I may be leaving in the morning. My studies have exhausted themselves, but I'm sure we'll meet again. I have your name. Like, we can always, if I can't write you a letter, perhaps I can send you a message.
She gets up, carefully folds and creases her plain red robes with the simple golden cord around them, tips her head in acknowledgement to you, and heel turns in the direction of the sleeping chambers. You'll see that she goes down the middle hall, hooks a left, and then there's a clunk clunk of a door opening and closing, and a whoop of a latch sliding.
Imric sits back in his chair, finishes the last sip in his drink, and puts the glass down.
The carafe is still in front of you, open.
Yeah, looks towards the carafe, and then puts the cork in it and takes it back to the cabinet, puts it in. Closes the cabinet.
Willpower check needed to have one more drink for the road?
Okay, fine.
I mean, it's your character. You tell me what you want.
No,
but
I understand. I'm taking an advantage roll. I feel like Imric's turned a corner. I'll take an advantage on the willpower roll. I've only got 7 willpower, you see, so it's not.
I see.
Yes, I'm having another drink, okay? I'll have one more. But I put it back. Imric's not getting drunk. He's
right.
past that.
Right.
I'll have one more on my own. Maybe I'll go and walk to the deck of the ship or something. I'll pour one glass, put the carafe back, and I might walk to the deck of the ship and go and look out into the night. I've got true seeing, so I can see into the night, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. I go do that. I think I sleep, and God, we've been just talking to these two characters for like 2 hours, but I go to sleep. I'm going to head back to Drekis tomorrow.
Okay. In the morning, you will find your friend still around. She's sitting in a comfy chair, sort of off to the side by herself, and she gives you sort of like an eyeball of acknowledgement and a head bob, and then quickly turns back to her study, clearly like in the middle of something and not wanting to be disturbed.
Okay. Yeah, I give her a good morning nod. And I gather my things and I will get ready to teleport back home.
Okay. Should be a simple thing for you to teleport home, unless there's anything else you want to do here. You did write down or made a rubbing of the one spell, and you wrote down some potion/scroll in recipes.
Yeah. Okay, so what I want to do with the next rest of this time is go back to Wicthron and Renta and look into Mimic Icor and try and find an apprentice so I can get to getting all the legwork done for these potions and scrolls so that I can just finish them off myself.
Excellent. Why don't we take
once that's done, I'll go to the Riverlands and get the whatever they were called, the Mudkippers, and then also speak to my mother.
Great. Why don't we take a break here, and we'll come back on the other side with a little more Tombs of Scoria. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tombs of Scoria. Our party returns home. Returns to Drekis. Returns to Wicthron Rarenta.
Yep. All right. I make it home, and that morning we'll go and see Oxombar, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I shall head to the keep.
Mm-hmm.
Find my way inside. I assume no problem.
Yeah, you make your way in. Your brothers are busy doing other things. You'll notice that your mother's carriage is in town. I think you teleport into your house, and so you'll see her carriage flying the family banner out front. But she's not home at the moment. She's out on the town, but you know she's in the capital now.
Sure. All right, yeah. I bypass again to the keep, knock on the door to Oxombar's tower, and head inside. Mm-hmm. Seems not much has changed in the last few days. Jessica, good to see you again.
Imric?
Alas, my time on the airship was unfruitful. I didn't find... I was looking for information on this continent we're traveling to, Glacia. It's the north of Solon. Seems that the scholars in the Age of Mist didn't write much down, and the ones that followed didn't write much about the topic at hand either. But while I've been there, I've been researching components for potions and scrolls that may prove useful to me. But alas, I don't have the time to make them. I've avoided it until now, but I was looking to take on an apprentice or two. I know that you have a few. I assume you get them from somewhere in the city. Is there any... I don't mean to take any from yourself, but perhaps you could recommend where I might find a couple? I'm sure they'd be eager to work with me.
Oh, you just head down to the apprentice store, Imric. Pick yourself up a load.
Oh, it's that easy, is it? Okay, I'll head there now.
I'm sure there has been... Have you not gotten any offers?
Honestly, I have. Maybe some letters I've not read. Don't spend too much time sorting through the mail.
I honestly would have expected you to have had many offers by now. I could put a word out. Might be some time. But I can make it known that you are entertaining the prospects. Do you have any criteria?
No, not particularly. Talented wizard would be obviously helpful. But other than that, not really. But listen, I know it's a lot to ask.
Minimums or maximums?
Probably younger than myself would be helpful. I feel it might be difficult to apprentice to a wizard younger than you.
You were going to say?
Yeah, I know it's a lot to ask. These potions and scrolls, I haven't got much time to put them together. I could gather the components myself, but I don't suppose you could lend an apprentice to me to prepare the...
shakes her head. No, I'm sorry. She walks over to a table and flips open a cloth, and you can see there are a bunch of high-grade items here. I have to identify these, and I need my apprentice to help with them. Plus, there's scrying on Mystria to be done. Always keeping an eye out for movements, anything that might be of interest or importance. Got to figure out what's happening with Scoria's generals, or that's the term we've been throwing around, even though I know they're not all of that rank, but the ones that run her operations. We've gotten some leads on a few of them, and so keeping a daily eye on where they are and where they're going is what the Queen desires.
I understand. How goes things in Akuba? With Shivan, I believe her name is, the half-elf.
She'll walk over to a map and unroll it and point to Yatel. From what we've been able to see, Yatel has merged with the Mystrians, with Shivan's people.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard.
I suspect that this is not the bloodless merger that it appears to be. Through scrying, clairaudience, clairvoyance, crystal balls, we've seen that there's no new graves, there's no pile of bodies anywhere. The number of soldiers in the streets appears to be roughly similar to that before, but now they go in packs with Mystrian, and now they are sometimes accompanied by a Mystrian officer. I find it unusual that the Akubans would just happily acquire Mystrian soldiers or vice versa. So think something else might be afoot. Maybe an assassination, a political ploy. I'm gonna have to go to Yatel. Well, not personally, but projectionally to Yatel to ask on the streets what's happening.
Well,
very busy here.
We maybe we're looking to do something about that once we return from our expedition. So, if you could keep detailed notes and let me know what's going on when we get back, that'd be great.
I've heard word that you and your brothers are planning an expedition to a very cold place that is not the Frostlands.
Yeah, that's right. You're ahead of this group, the Frost Rangers of Iowan.
No.
Towns to the north of Solemn.
My Solemn history is very, very light. I've spent so much time here. She points to Drakus. I
can't
be bothered with the things across the sea.
Mine too. This town, Iowan, it's on the northern reaches of Solemn. And this group, these Frost Rangers, well, it's like nothing you've ever seen. I walked into a tavern, about 30 of these guys. I've never seen more magic items in my life. Every single one of them, even the ones wet behind the ears, were well equipped. Perhaps not the same as Tyrael and Anton and myself, but still well equipped. And to hear them tell it, they've been excavating the ruins of an ancient civilization from the Age of Mist on a continent to the north. They call it Glacier, digging through the ice and finding the relics of these lost peoples. From what they said, the kingdom was destroyed due to the overabundance of magic there, whatever that means.
Sounds like a bunch of crap to me. More likely destroyed by the gods, and then people made up their own legends. Perhaps.
But Anton, he's spoken with Valthara. The items that we seek.
Rolls her eyes when you mention Anton speaking to Valthara.
Yeah, you doubt?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I find it hard to trust what the goddess of vengeance may wish Anton to know.
Well, I have a little bit more faith in you, and I hope it proves fruitful. But the items we are seeking to protect us from Scoria's dispel magic can be found there in a place. But we have the name of the place, but nothing else. I don't know how we intend to find it. That's what I was hoping to find on the airship. Maybe a map or some information, anything that might give us a clue as to where we are headed, but alas, no.
What is this item that will help you defeat Scoria?
They're known as ion stones. It's a simple thing, really. You place them over your person and they'll orbit you. There's a variety of different types, but the one we are seeking will absorb spells cast at you. I'm hoping that it will defend us from Scoria's dispel magic, because I keep having the recurring thought that we'll face it in battle, it will dispel our protections and then burn us all to a crisp within minutes.
That's exactly what I would expect her to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I was hoping to find some way to protect ourselves from her dispel, and then
like a ring of spell storing or a ring of spell turning. It sounds like this is similar to that.
Something like that, yes. But we'd need more than one of them. I've read things about rings of spell turning that they don't deal so well with indirect spells. Area of effect, such as dispel magic, it may not work. And it's a matter of life and death, so I'm hoping that these will prove more effective.
Well,
if we could avoid the dispel magic, then a simple scroll of fire protection should protect us from the breath. I think that's about the only way we can defeat it in battle. The final piece, if you will. So I know it's a long shot, but I've read about these things in ancient books, briefly mentioned. This is the first time I'd ever had a lead, and as soon as we got into that tavern, the man we spoke to, he had multiple of them orbiting him. Not the exact ones I'm looking for, but he had a handful of different ion stones. Says he found them in this place.
Oh.
Hence the expedition.
These Frost Rangers certainly seem like a group worthy of your attentions and times. Sound like miniature versions of yourselves.
Sort of, yeah, something like that. But anyway, that's the plan. That's why we're going there. We've commissioned the boat for 2 months, so once we leave, we should be back within a couple of months. But that's what I'm saying. Keep an eye on Yatal and Siobhan and see what goes on there. Well, I'm going to... Hey, another thing. One of these potions I wanted to make, I need the ichor of a mimic to make it. Now, I'd been racking my brain thinking about where one might find a mimic. And then I had a thought. Maybe there's some in the keep here. You know anything about that?
I do. How much ichor do you need?
Wow. Wish I'd asked you about this sooner. And, how much can you get, I suppose? Or how much could I get? Happy to collect it myself if it proves too dangerous.
No.
Not for you, I just mean... Yeah, well, if I could make 5 of these potions, that would be great. I don't know how much you can harvest.
Well, I'll just go up to Minnie, and we will let some ichor out, and, come back a few days later and let out some more until we have enough that you need.
That's fantastic. Jessica, thank you. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one problem sorted. I'm going to poach some branches from the Elven Ambassador's home. I hope he doesn't notice.
Sure he will.
Shortly.
He's a more crafty character than he lets on, that ambassador.
Well, no time for study today, but it's good to check in. I'll speak to you in a couple of days. Maybe collect the ichor.
Ta-ta.
And I will polymorph self and fly to the Elven Ambassador's tree. Take a little perch on one of the branches there.
And look for the right dowsing rod off of one of the branches.
Yeah, well, I'm looking for more than one if I can find it. 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And once I've identified them, I'll then, I don't know, just if they're near the ground, I'll just turn into myself and chip them away with a dagger or something. Otherwise, if I have to fly to them.
Most of them are going to be pretty high up. You'll definitely have to fly or, ask to borrow a ladder or climb up the inside of the tree. Because when you're up here as a bird, you can see that there are doorways on the trunk of the tree that comes out onto branches. So it'd be very easy to walk up here from within the tree, it looks like.
Oh, that's cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to turn into like a gremlin or what are they called? An imp or whatever. Hold my dagger and just go and fly around and harvest them. I just need a few. And I want to turn into a bird and fuck off as soon as possible before the ambassador realizes what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a pretty simple thing for you to find these. You said dowsing rods, right?
Yeah.
From an elven house. Yep, you have very conveniently an elven house in your city. And you can find some dowsing rods. Now, the problem is most of them are going to be a little bit bigger than a small bird could carry. They're going to be at least, 2 feet long. So,
well, what I'll do is I'll cut them and then throw them to the ground, and then I'll just collect them on foot.
Ah, okay. Appear as fly up as a bird, turn into a human, knock them down, fly back down.
Like an imp, actually. Something small that can fly, that I can carry my dagger in.
Right, the dagger hand. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it's a fairly reasonable thing. Let me just do a quick die check, see if any of the guards find you. 13 for an elven guard. Yeah, he'll spot the weird imp-like thing in the tree while you're breaking branches, and he shouts at you and he waves at you, and then a few minutes later the another soldier appears on one of these doors, but by now you've already broken the branches that you need. The elf comes out with a man catcher. It's like a stick that's forked at the end that you can push against a person's body without hurting them, to wrap around them and pin them to something, and comes after you with this man catcher in one hand and a net at his side. But by the time he gets up here, you've already broken off the branches you need, can flurry down, pick them up, and fly away, just to the angry sounds of the guards. They're not trying to hurt you, they're just trying to shoo off the weird creature that's fucking with their tree.
Yeah. Okay, so the only things I'm missing are the Eye of a Lensman, a key forged by a master dwarven smith, and the gills of a mud skipper. So, is there any Master Dwarven Smiths in town?
No, but you know there are some in Roxas.
Yeah, so Roxas for that. And then the Mud Skippers, I'm going to go to our keep. And the Io Lensman, I just don't know about. Now, the question that I'm afraid to ask is, how long does it take to make a scroll? Because it's probably longer than I've got, right? Or a potion.
Inscribing a spell onto a scroll takes 1 day per spell level, while creating a protection scroll takes 1 full week of uninterrupted work.
Okay, so it's only a day per level, so it's not actually that bad.
The alchemical process for a potion usually requires 1 full week and, cost, blah, blah, blah. If the potion's experience value is greater than this, you must spend an extra day per 100 experience points brewing. Assuming the character is able to obtain, the process takes 1 day per 100 GP required. Okay, so we don't need the alchemical process. It's a day per 100 GP value of the spell of the potion, which is a weird thing because the potions have an XP and a GP value, but that's not the GP the potion would sell for. It's there's this old silly mechanic that we don't talk about. Yeah.
So how many days are we looking at for Polymorph Self and Fly and Invis?
Potion of Invisibility is 250 GP, so it'd be 3 days. Potion of Flying is 500. Oh, no, that's the XP value. Why do they have an XP and a GP value? It's weird.
Yeah.
Why don't they list
Maybe it should just be
value?
1 day for level of the spell. So Invis is 2, Fly is 3, Polymorph is 4.
Flip through these tomes of knowledge over here.
Yeah. The scrolls were 1 day per level of the spell, right?
Right, which is a nice, simple, straightforward method. Let's research. EP. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. 1 day per 100 GP required. Oh, but the GP required is based on the research time? No, that can't be right.
Did you not say it was 100 GP per spell level?
We could. That might just be the way to go about it.
Makes it easy, doesn't it?
It does. I think we should just do that for now. It's a good idea.
Okay. So...
Oh, here, no, it does. Okay, it is the XP value. It
Okay,
will cost them a number of gold equal to the potion's experience point value to brew the potion. The process takes 1 day per 100 GP required. They could have just said 100 XP required, but they... Obfuscation. So, flying potion takes 5 days. Invisibility potion takes 2.5 days. What was the other one?
Okay. Polymorph Self.
Polymorph Self is 200 GP, so 2 days for that.
Okay,
Why is
so that's
Fly
pretty cool.
500 but Polymorph Self 200 when you can polymorph yourself into a flying creature? I don't know. But
Well, you know, Fly has its uses, because you can still cast and stuff while flying.
that's true.
Okay, so I need to get some Mud Skippers, and I need to visit Roxas.
Yeah, if you want to like toss out 100 GP, you can get as many mud skippers as you want. They'll just like it'll take a while. You hire someone to go down and bring you some mud skippers back alive, and they'll bring you they bring you a shit ton, and you pick out the young ones yourself, and then you throw the rest in the pond or whatever.
So I'm going to say I've got 5 castings of that.
Yeah.
What about Roxas? Can I go and get some keys made there? Do we need to roleplay that?
I don't think you'd need to roleplay it. You don't need keys to anything in particular. You just need extremely well-crafted keys, right? So...
Yeah.
I think you can get to Roxas, and you can get keys made without any real trouble. You've been flying all over the place without running into encounters. You've got invisibility spells. You can avoid these things. You can turn into birds, small birds, big birds. You've got stone skin. You've got a shit ton of magic missiles. Yeah. You can get to Roxas, and they're not going to give you a hard time when you're like, hey, I just want to place a special order for some keys. And then you maybe chip out another 100 GP to get a bunch of keys.
All right, well, I'll take 200 GP off the party sheet, because Imric doesn't carry any wealth of his own.
Mm-hmm.
But I shall take off 200 of our 24,600 gold.
Nice.
Okay, well, hang on, let me take a look at my spreadsheet and just... What are we doing here? So we failed to sell the robes, which is a shame. Need to learn Lesser Disintegrate. And maybe just speak to Shelley, I guess, is the only other thing to do. Elven cat whiskers. Where did she say the elven cat was?
She said one had been spotted near Berkshire, like from time to time. It would be a bit of an adventure to try and find it, though. It's not like it's in captivity.
Yeah. Really, really, really want to be able to cast that spell more often.
How many castings of it do you have?
5.
Seems pretty good.
Yeah, it's not that good, though. Like, it's a really good spell for me. Once. But only because I'm being stingy with it,
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I could cast it every day, it gets me, like, extra to hit and AC.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. Well, you place the mud skipper order. You go home. You find that your mother is here. She's taken off her boots. She's resting them on a table in front of a fire. She looks absolutely exhausted and sort of like pale and sweaty. A glass of warm tea sits next to her. The servants are pretty much all out of the room. Her bodyguard is off and away on one of his few breaks. And she sees you and kind of gives you the wave of, hello, son, and pats the cushion next to her.
Mother, good to see you. I take a seat next to her. I've not seen you for a while.
Oh.
How goes the keep?
Oh, Emmerich, my baby boy. Things go well.
Everything all right?
It's a long day of travel along the road from the keep to here.
Oh, you only got here today?
Just today. Saw some Mystrian riders in the distance. Thought we might have to wage battle for a bit, but worked out all right. We had enough horse of our own to ride them, to wave them off.
That's good. You need to be careful on that route. They do patrol the area.
Well,
we got ourselves into some trouble around there once.
I bring with me the very finest soldiers money can buy.
Indeed. We should have it no other way. Well, I have no plans for the evening. Perhaps we should take our meal together and catch up.
As long as we can take it here, she says, with her feet still up on the table. I can't be bothered to dress for dinner.
Yeah, of course. Let me go and speak to the servants. I'll get them to bring some food. I'll go and get her a drink and get some food going in the kitchen for her and come and sit back down. So you said the keep, it goes well. How is the construction of the giants proven useful?
Giants are doing a great job hauling stone. Halflings are providing food. There are, of course, endless problems. Giants accidentally stepping on halfling houses. They're so small. They look like Earth, especially from the giant's perspective. You can't see the doorways. So now we have to rebuild a house or two and spend time, send extra personnel with the giant to make sure they're walking in the right places. And strange creatures have been seen flying overhead. We assume that they're Mystrian scouts or spies.
Strange creatures? What do they look like?
Some were unmistakably gargoyles. My bodyguard tells me one was a manticore. There have been some others that I haven't been able to note. Maybe gremlins or imps. Some of them must be. How often
do these things fly over?
They're seen at least once a week.
Interesting.
She shrugs.
Well, I don't know when we'll next be back in the Riverlands, but perhaps if we're there again, we can try and capture one of these things. See what it's up to.
I think it might do some good for you to show your faces in banners very, very publicly out home, at the new home.
Yeah, well, I wanted to speak to you about that. We're going to be traveling away for a couple of months, far, far to the north, away from Arcadia. But I think it does no good for this fact to be slipped to our enemies. In fact, it would do some good for us to be, for it to be known that we're still here. I don't know. I know you're cunning, Mother. Perhaps you can think of something. Maybe raise a banner, announce that we're in the area. Do what you can, just so that any spies, of which I'm sure there are, may report that we're still around.
The problem with halflings, Imric, she says, just cutting you off and steamrolling the conversation slightly, is that they're so happy and chipper and pleasant all the time. At first, they seem like idiots, but when you're looking for spies, they blend in very well.
Yes, well, some of Tyrael's more secretive friends are halflings. I've travelled to Nome. They're not much better there. Wily things.
Maybe we should find a guilty halfling and have Tyrael come and perform, or have Anton come and perform some sort of public execution, and then we can pretend that a lot of you are there all the time.
Maybe that's a good idea. Make sure the little guy is guilty, though. I hate to be executing innocent halflings.
Of course. I'm just saying a show of force might do well to quell the spies in the area. Make everyone know that McGarry family is not one to be trifled with. Definitely,
yes. We should have anyone suspected of espionage should be dealt with swiftly and curtly. Well, I think I just spend the night with Mother, reminiscing, talking about the keep and what's going on. If she has anything she wants me to do, I'm happy to oblige. But I think I might travel to Cronwick for a time.
Presses you one more time in the absence of your brothers about your future, Imric. Your future. What is it going to look like?
Mother, do you mean who am I to marry?
I didn't say that.
Well, those are your words. Have you not given any more thought to the Tulwick girl? We get on so well, and her family have sway, don't they?
I mean, they're the family with the most shame in all of Drekis. If you would put the two most shameful families in all of Drekis together, I suppose that could be the case.
Well, I would say perhaps the Drakisian people are reconsidering their quick judgment of these shameful families, as you put it. Turns out the McGarry name is not quite as disheveled as one might have thought. Perhaps the same could be said of the Tulwicks.
Perhaps. But you know how people talk. I wonder if we are better off aligning ourselves with someone more liked.
Like you? Surely you wouldn't still have me marry this Richard's daughter.
Oh, she's not available, as I understand it. Her husband came back from war, or something like that. No, but
right, yes.
The queen has some daughters that are unwed.
Does she now? Didn't one of them only recently get married?
She has many daughters, I believe.
I think the queen's daughters. Are any of them hot? Apart from the one that Van's married, which was clearly the hottest one.
Let me just double check that I'm not making these things up. Yeah, she's got 3 other unnamed daughters that we haven't ever discussed.
Okay. How old are they? And how hot are they?
Maximum age is going to be 27.
Yeah, well, that's my age, but it's probably a little bit too old. I'm getting a little bit younger than that, I think.
Yeah, hold on, randomizer.
MrMouton wrote 12. Unbelievable.
Where is my notes on Gloria Wick? Recus. High Prince Siegfried. Oh, here we are. I already have their stats. Oh no, these are all fucked up.
Oh no.
There just might be some mildly contradictory information.
Oh, right. I thought you meant that they were fucked up as people.
Oh, no. They're fine. They're fine women. Don't worry about them. Eldest son... No. Wait. That's... class. Oh, that's the Prince of Cronwick. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong fucking names. Princess Sella. Okay, Gloria Wick. Here we go. Okay. Her kids. We've got one who is... roll random. All right, so we've got her name is going to be Tara, who is 4'11" in height, 24 years old, and left-handed.
Left-handed. I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah. Southpaws, right? Mm-hmm.
I don't trust him.
7. Hotness 10. I know that matters to you.
It's going to be a pass on that one, I think. Because I think Shelley was like a 15, you know?
What's your hotness, Emmerich?
My hotness is pretty decent. Hang on. Let me check. Now, this is not accounting for position. 13, Neal.
Well, none of these are accounting for position, my friend. These are all raw. Okay, so you'll
13,
accept anyone.
Decent.
That is average. That is the upper end of average, yes.
No, I think you'll find the average is 8 to 12.
8 to 13 is the average, my friend.
No,
8, 9, 10,
bollocks.
11, 12, 13.
That's just counting out numbers doesn't make it true.
10.5 is the average of 3d6, so 2.5 points up, 2.5 points down. But it's fine. It's fine. Oh, this is a 1, a 2, and a 3 for a total of hotness 6
Get her
for
away from
the
me.
21-year-old daughter named Celeste.
All right.
And the third unnamed, unidentified daughter up until this point is... It's too old. We said maximum age of 27 based on the others' ages. Nope, she can't be 77 years old. The other is
19.
24, 21, and 16.
That's looking. That's
No,
that's
16
fine.
years of age.
No, I know. I know. Just listen, it's okay in Dracus and it's okay in England.
You mean legal?
Yeah, not okay. Morally, it's not okay.
Yeah, you do whatever you... I'm not getting into this. This
Good idea.
Yeah.
But hotness, though. I'm going to roll this one now. Okay.
Sure.
You ready?
Yeah.
So this is going to be... Oof. It's going to be so hot. I mean, I'm doing it one at a time. Okay, we've got Okay, it's not a great start. 6. Okay, an 11. It's not great. God damn it. Can we roll a 4d6 on this one? Drop the lowest.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so we got. She's a 13.
And her name is. I can do this.
Her name is. What's a cool name for a woman? Like. Destiny. Wait a minute, that's a girl's name. Sorry, a woman's name. Her name's Fram? No, I don't know
Famia.
Famia.
Famia. Famyea.
Famyea.
Famyea. Famia. Famie? I don't know, I put down some letters.
Well, Mother, no offense to your sister, but her 2 elder daughters didn't really get the McGarry looks gene, if you know what I mean. The youngest one, she's not bad to look at, I suppose, but I've not spoken much to her. She's still but a child.
And how old are you, Emmerich? 27?
28 now.
So you have a long engagement.
And you'd rather me marry Famia than Shelley Tulwick?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure where we are headed, I'll have much time to contemplate to myself. I'll think on it. I'll give you an answer when we return in a couple of months.
I know it won't put you in line for the throne, but think of your children. They would be princes and princesses. And if you marry Shelley Tulwick, your children will be the joke of all nobility. You'll get what happens when you cross a McGarry with a Tulwick. Jokes.
You really think these drakes will be made once Scoria is dead and the deed is done?
You remember the times you spent in bars, drinking? What things were said about your aunt in front of you at that point in time?
About the Queen?
I'm sure in the taverns you would frequent, you heard many a ill thing said of your blood.
I suppose. Maybe you're right. Do you regret your choices in life, Mother? Did you not marry for love once upon a time?
I married for love because I would have been a terrible leader. I picked my path because it suited me best, and I was ill-suited for the other one before me. It's your life, Emmerich. You can do as you please. You are a grown-ass man.
As they say. Well, it's very noble of you to say that, Mother. I'll take your wisdom on board. I know you speak truths, and you have my best interests at heart. Don't think that I'm dismissing you. I'll think on it.
It seems to me that you don't really have anyone. You don't really have any desires in particular. To you, there are women out there, and one day you could marry one of them. And as long as you're not too particular about which one, as long as you haven't found one that calls to your heart the way your father called to mine, rest his soul, you might as well pick one who is good for you. And you'll grow to love her. And she's young, and she'll adapt to your way of going, and you'll have a similar background and similar family structure. It'll be easy. And with a princess like that, the youngest princess marrying the youngest son of mine, things will probably flow well. You wouldn't even need to see her or spend that much time with her, but it would give you a position from which to move forward in your life. Tying us closer to my sister, your aunt, the Queen, was always a nice thing.
Not make more sense for Tyrael to marry one of her daughters?
I think if I mention marriage one more time to Tyrael, he might run off into the woods. He's He's less... How do you politely say that he's less sensible? He has,
Yes, well, he's prone to making rash decisions at times.
Mm-hmm. Reluna guides him too strongly, I think.
Perhaps.
His affinity for the goddess of passion is seen in his actions, if not in his company. But if you could nudge him in that direction, I would appreciate it. The family is without an heir.
You think you felt Tyriel's wrath, Mother? I'm sure he's never spoken to you the way he speaks to me regularly. And he's often scolding me in the same way that Father would when we were children. He thinks he knows everything, does Tyriel. And he may be good with the sword, and he may be wise and devious, but he doesn't know everything. And, well, I like to think that in recent times he's listened to our wisdom, meaning myself and Anton, more than he has in the past. So maybe my words will help your cause here. I'll do what I can.
Good, that's enough. I'm done being a mother. It's time to be an old lady who puts her feet up by the fire.
Yes. Well, your food should be here soon, and let's eat together. And yeah, I'll spend the rest of the evening with her. Now, I'm not sure what to do about Shelley Tulwick.
Well, you could at least write her something, you know?
I could go over there.
Visit her? See her?
The bad thing, I could go over there and I could...
You could get engaged right now.
I could sample the goods, is what I'm saying. I could come back. It's not a nice thing to do.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That's what happens when you try and sample goods, guys. The gods come after you. I don't know what... I'm going to give him a moment. We're nearing the end of our story here. I did want to get to the Tulwick storyline. But if this borkage is real, because it borked not just on Zoom, but also on Discord, then this might be the right place to end. In fact, why don't we go to a break now, and maybe we'll come back, or maybe this is the end of this chapter. You'll find out if there is another segment to the VOD. He says he's coming back. There is communication. But it's not working like it's supposed to be working. There are technical issues still. This is where we talk about the internet being the vehicle of this sort of game and how the vehicle sometimes breaks down. But I can't improvise a tasteless speech on the fly. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to June's Scoria. We are back for our last part after all.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Just a random internet drop,
You know
how it is.
Internet is the vehicle of esports, and when there's technical problems, it impacts everyone. There's nothing you can do about it, so...
Exactly that.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's too much more to do, in a way.
You said you wanted to go to Outlast to sample the goods, and then immediately your internet cut out from my perspective.
No, I was saying that's maybe what I would do if it was me.
Okay. If it was
Nick, that's probably what I would do. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But Imric's not going to do that. So I think, despite what Mother said, I'm going to think about it, because we're probably going to be held up in the tent for days at a time when we're in Glacier waiting out a blizzard. So time to think about it then and talk to Anton and Tyriel about it. So I'm not going to make a decision yet. I might start like drafting a letter to Shelley that I might send, but might not send. And so that I can avoid achieving absolutely nothing in this 4 hours in terms of progression, I want to try and make some of these scrolls. So however much time we've got left, we've got about 3 or 4 weeks plus the time on the boat. I want to definitely learn Lesser Disintegration, and then I want to try and make scrolls. So I'm going to learn the spell first. So should we roll for that now?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna go the classic 20 to 80 route. You know,
Classic.
had success.
20 to 79.
20 to 79. That's what I'm going for. Served me well so far.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, at least. You know.
Yeah, because the ends are just so much lower to get than the middle. Yeah, look at that.
That's it. All right, we get Lesser Disintegration.
Wow.
That's my last 4th level spell.
And throw me down 42.
Yeah, in the hopes that this can help me clear some ice. 6 days.
Okay.
Let me add that to my spell list. And the component is just some sand, which I already have for 2 of my spells anyway, so that's pretty good. Hello?
Hello. Yes, I'm just making notes.
Yeah. No, okay, sure. Just getting worried.
Yeah. Just trying to make sure I track all the things that need tracking.
Cool, got that. All right, now I'm going to make scrolls and potions and what have you. So,
right.
I haven't got the materials for the knock scroll yet, correct? Or the mud skippers.
Right. So we had mentioned that there were 2 sections of downtime. There was the section of downtime before you went to Eowyn, and then there was a section of downtime when you come back from Eowyn, right?
Yeah, so maybe we can...
Before you left, you actually spent doing spell learning, the whole fucking thing. I'm reading my notes. There was lower resistances, fire shield, ultravision, advanced illusion.
No, but there was a period of like 3 weeks where I said this is where I'm going to do the solo session, but I don't think I'd committed any time to.
Oh, that was even further back in time.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit further back, yeah.
Okay. I don't think anything that was said or done today was time sensitive. I think all of those things could have been done.
Yeah, I knew the stuff about Glacier, but nothing really came of that anyway.
Okay. So the lesser disintegration you could have learned there, but these other things, I'm going to put you on that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 day segment, so that there's not like unlimited time to learn spells.
Yeah. So how many days do I have?
10.
Before we leave?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick to scrolls because they're quicker to make. 10 days. So let's see. 4, 6. Okay. So I think then I'm going to make 2 scrolls of Revealed Door, 2 scrolls of Hold Portal, 1 scroll of Knock, and 2 scrolls and 2 potions of Polymorph Self.
The potions of Polymorph Self take 2 days each.
Yeah, so that's 4 days for that. Scroll of Revealed Door and Hold Portal are 1 day each. So that's 4 of them, that's another 4 days. What, 2
8
each
total?
So
okay, yeah.
And then 1 scroll of Knock, which is also 2 days.
Perfect.
No, in fact, hang on. I'll do a scroll of Locate Landmark instead. I think that's more useful.
Perfect. Please jot them down. I'm just going to assume that you do them. And that'll take up the remaining 10 days. Very nice. And then Lady Shelley Tulwick. Oh, beautiful woman. You met her 2 years ago now? 3 years ago? And you've only communicated via letters?
Been very erotic, though, the letters.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. No, not really. No, not really. It flirts with it, though. Trust me. There's some moments. You know, you have to be in there for the whole conversation. You know, it's a lot of inside jokes.
Right. You can't just pop in partway through and pretend.
You just think we were talking about normal stuff, but trust me, it gets steamy. Let me tell you, at times. No, not really. And there's a bit of light flirting, I guess.
Right.
You know, the way that I'm sure people probably did.
Right. And this was back in like August of 1511, and we're currently in March of 1513.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Long distance relationship. Hard to manage.
Well, I wouldn't really call it a relationship. you know.
Yeah, because you're not, there's not an exclusive dating aspect to it, but there is a flirtatious correspondence, over a great distance and over a long period of time.
So it's quite sad. I think I tried to think of like what reasons I would give for not pursuing this. Probably something along the lines of how, there's a chance that I'm going to die in what I'm trying to do, fighting Scoria.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I survive, my duties to my family and my country might keep me away from her for too long. And so, she's too intelligent. She's too, she's too like switched on to be just a wife that's left at home with children. I wanted to be with her. It'd have to be a different life where I was free to pursue what I wanted, not one where I'm burdened by the duty of a hero. And alas, I may find myself in a loveless marriage to a woman who doesn't care for me. But perhaps our letters can continue. Something like that. I write this out. I'm not sending it yet.
Right. Just you got to do a draft.
Yeah, I'm just doing a little draft. I read it. I'll probably take it with me as well and like work on it while I'm away. So yeah, I mean, I think this kind of takes us. There's 10 minutes left. This kind of takes us to an end. We did a lot of role playing, which is nice. We don't always get to do that in this campaign. So
yeah, it was nice. It's been a while since we've just had a long chat about thoughts,
even if it's in character.
Let's get some takeaways from this. You met that woman on the airship. What was her name? Deonthe.
Yeah, whatever made-up name you gave her.
Yeah.
It's not a real name. Well, out of character. I'm a little bit concerned because you were like, "Oh, I need to come up with a story," and there was no story, which makes me think that this woman isn't who she says she is.
So it's not that I didn't come up with a story and that's so we didn't have a story. It's that there's a secret story that you're not aware of.
That's what I'm assuming.
That's the assumption I love. Yes. That's it, buddy.
There's a secret plan. People are saying that she's Scoria's wizard. I don't think so. I feel like the interaction would have gone differently if that was the case. So I think it was good. It was good to make a friend. I think what came across to me was Imric was all very friendly to her, but as soon as she started insulting the Queen, I kind of felt like, whoa, hang on. That's too far. All right. Don't presume that you can start slagging off Drakus to me because, I'm literally in the royal family. I'm literally risking my life and everything for this country. And you're like, oh, well, actually, the Queen's just as bad as Scoria. That's not true. I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
This ain't it, Chief.
Sounds like she's not Dracusian then.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. It sounds like she's maybe Eridonian or something. Maybe a Cuban. Hard to tell. But yeah, just went with a visit airship. At least I can get back to it now, I think, in the future. I learned the spell, made some scrolls and potions. Even the ones that I didn't make, I at least now have recipes for and access to the components. So I've freed up my level 4 spells. I've only got 2 potions of polymorph self, but more of those would be useful because level 4 is actually my most competitive level for spells. Because you've got Stone Skin, polymorph self, Ice Storm, improved strength, improved invis, ultra vision. Like there's loads of really good spells in level 4. So it's always, and I pretty much always take polymorph self and Stone Skin every day. So not having to take polymorph self might be quite nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit worried about using polymorph in Glacier because I'm concerned that the wind will shift and I'll get like permanently turned into a bird or something. Yeah,
that's an interesting effect. If that bag of holding permanently emptied its components somewhere,
wait, that does remind me of one thing that I do want to do though. I can't cast a spell. I want to get Oxombar to give me an item with beacon cast on it. It can be anything, doesn't matter what it is. And I want to bring it in a bag of holding. And then I want to detect magic the beacon after it gets disappeared to see where it goes to.
Oh, yes. You can get a beaconed stone. If not from Arc Somber, then you can get it bought from someone else. You'll have to pay cash for it since this is, buying a spell slot from someone, of course. I think the cash value will be like 300 GP for a beaconed rock.
Saw me coming, didn't they? 300 gold for a level 1 spell. I mean, hey,
identifies 1,000 GP. Per facet of the item identified.
That takes all day, though.
Sure. That's true. That does take a full day.
Yeah. All right. I take another 300 gold off. I'll have that with me. And yeah, I think that's it. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. Bit of a different change of pace, but we'll be back tomorrow with a lot of adventure, I expect. So
yes.
Oh, I think I will also, in the days where I'm just making scrolls and stuff, I'm going to make a bunch of... I don't have continual light. Shit. I'm just going to make a bunch of continual light stones, but I can't.
Your brother can probably make a bunch for you.
Oh, Anton can cast it, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'll make a bunch of... I'll get a bunch of continual light stones made, because I want to, like I said to you, I want to try and have so many of them that it almost acts as a proxy for when the magic fuckery starts. Because I feel like if there's enough of them, at least one of them will be affected at the edge of the area.
Mm-hmm.
If you only have one, it might just not get affected until you're 20 miles in. But if you've got like 100 or 50 or 30, might have a high chance. So I'm going to try and set that up.
Okay. Great. Well, then, that'll be it for our session today. We will be back tomorrow with more Tombs of Scoria, and then I think we're off the following week, and then we're back again. So that's that, everybody. Well, we'll be back tomorrow on Destiny's channel in the usual home, but thanks everyone for stopping by here for this one-off. Do remember to follow if you haven't, subscribe if you've got Amazon Prime and you've not used it. But other than that, yeah, thanks for watching. Good night. Bye-bye. See you later.